Hey, you guys, we are back. Okay, I am now inviting my guest, Gabby Rose. Go follow her on YouTube. I just invited her, so everything should be good, you guys know. God is good, you guys. He allowed me to write a book. It's good. Thank you for coming back. Come on in, you guys. It's going to be a great night. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you, Jazz, for your continuous support. We're back. I'm waiting for Gabby. She should be able to get on. You know what's crazy? Once we get into this book talk, you guys, it's going to be pretty intriguing. Like, if y'all heard the phone conversation I just had with Gabby, it was like, wait a second. Are we from the same generation or same family? Or, girl, it's going to get there. It's going to get there. So, Lord Jesus, you are good all the time. And I'll be honest, I'm not even nervous. Like, she's super chill. Everybody's super chill. Why does it say she's unable to join again? The devil is a lie. Okay? Let me see. Try this again. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to be done before 9. We got stuff to do. We got prayers to lift up, you guys. So, hi. Thanks for coming back. I'm waiting for Gabby to come on. Thank you for coming back. My name's Theresa Taylor. For those of you who don't know me, I am from Sacramento, California. I was born and raised here. My family is from the Bay Area, specifically from San Francisco. God told me to write this book right here. This book right here, or else I would have never done it. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I know I tried to match with my lipstick. Okay, I see you, Gabby. That's probably why I want to let you join, because you got to be in the live first. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Now you can request, or you can. Okay, you can accept my request now. I think it makes you join the live before you can do it. Hey, girl. Hey, come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We're gonna get talking soon. No, I didn't know that. Your mom is from San Francisco? My mom's from San Francisco.
I
Yes.
can see you now.
Yay. Thank you for joining me, Gabby.
Thank you for having me.
Oh.
Okay. Woo! Technical difficulties aside, we made it.
Yes, girl.
I don't know. Okay, let's see if this. There we go. I had to get my ring light. I didn't like the bad lighting here. Too dim for
Lighting
me.
is everything, right?
Too dim for me. Okay. Now let's see here if that works.
It's your hair, your curly hair.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
You can see me.
I see you clearly as day.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. All
Yes.
right. We're in here. Where's my book? Got my book.
I got my
Got
book.
my book.
What we're talking about now. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Oh, Jasmine. Your mama's from Hunters Point? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Real
Mom.
HP, huh?
Okay. Okay. She from the Bay. I'm not gonna tell him where you're from, Jazz. That's my really good friend in the comments. I've known her a really
Hi,
long time.
Jazz.
Okay. So introductions. You wanna go first?
Hi everybody. My name is Gabby Rose. I am a singer, songwriter, multifaceted artist, if you will. I have my hands in everything. I was born in San Francisco, raised in Oakland, and I consider myself an artist of many genres, but R&B is my bread and butter.
Yes,
A
girl.
pretty quick way to describe myself. I'm an artiste.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Yes, and an
Yes.
activist as well. And activism is very, 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 very important to me as well.
Yes, I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you, thank you, thank
If
you,
you
thank
guys
you.
haven't heard her sing, y'all need to go check out her music. Go check out her page. She pours her heart out. Let me
Oh,
see.
thank you
I've
so
been
much.
ever since I came across you, girl. You've been a light to me. I know that's my screen name, but you've literally been a
Oh,
light. Like it's. I was just like, wow, this girl is something else. Why doesn't she have more followers? Why isn't she viral right now?
what's funny is
Like,
I was saying that I was telling that in the previous conversation that I had to do earlier. I was telling her that I often get told that like you should be famous already, and why aren't you viral? Why don't people know you? And um, it's a trip because that was even something that I discovered along my journey, if you will.
right.
And at first, I kind of used to be like mad, you know, like I've done American Idol, I've done The Voice, I've done all of these shows, and they never would tell me, yeah, I would get denied. And I'm literally the first time I auditioned.
Wow.
Um, I'll never forget. I sang the song from Glitter. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Glitter movie with
I
Mariah
love
Carey.
that movie.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I sang the song, the opening song, and it takes a real vocalist to be able to carry that song.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'll never forget when they told me no, I walked away. And of course, I began to cry. I was like maybe like 19. And I'll never forget this girl came running after me to chase me. And she was like, I just wanted you to know that you're incredible. And I don't even want to audition now. And I was like, wait, what? And she was like, if they told you no, there's no way they're picking me. And it's a trip because I remember young me being like, yeah, girl, if they told me no, then they pick, you know, but I also remember you never know. It's wild how I can like in this moment feel it in my chest. You never know what God has for you.
Right.
And as much as it broke my heart to be turned away, there was no way I was going to let that little young black girl watch
Mm,
me get turned away and potentially throw away
mhm.
her blessing. So I
Right.
told her, I said, no, you go back and audition. You don't know what they're looking for. And granted, I don't even necessarily believe in that. I'm not a fan of that way of finding talent. I believe it's exploitive.
Right.
But I will say I learned a lot from that. And with the industry the way it is now, as much as I used to beat myself up about not being famous, I completely understand why God didn't want me
Yeah.
in them people's hands.
Okay. Okay. He's protecting you,
All
girl.
I'm gonna say is we are seeing right now in real time
Okay.
why I was
You
not
know.
meant to be in or around those people, you know?
Right.
I think a shift needs to happen first, and I think I'm meant to usher in a different era. And I don't, I'm grateful that I've come to that place because it was something that I really used to beat myself up about. So thank
Wow.
you for such a compliment because hearing it all
Girl.
my life, I didn't properly take it in the right way.
Yeah, because it's like it sounds like what you're saying is you struggle with your self-confidence. And because of that, that hindered your growth. And then now
And
you
it's a
realize
trip because it wasn't my vocal confidence, right? It wasn't. I knew my talent always. That was
right.
never. It's a trip because some people it may sound cocky, but I'm just very confident, and I always knew that my gift was God given. There was no
Oh,
way you could tell me anything other than that. Coming from a family of creatives, like my whole family is talented, so
wow.
I always knew that part I never questioned. It was more so the how do I make this come about? How do I make these things I see in my mind become, come to fruition and actually
Right.
pieces of my life that are tangible? And I
Right.
think that I still struggle with it sometimes, if I'm honest. I still have days where I'm literally in my head and I have to, a part of that
Wow.
healing of traumas is that negative self-talk and that
Mhm.
that forcing yourself to reiterate what needs to be said versus what
Yes.
you're saying, that
Yes.
forcing yourself to rip out what you're used to hearing or rip out what's used to being said to you that you're
Girl.
used to wearing like a jacket and taking
Right.
that off and putting on whatever jacket actually fits. So that part I do still struggle with. I even have days where I'll say something in my brain and I'm like, that don't belong there. Or there are moments where I'll have get discouraged about how God, I don't have the money. How do I don't have the support. I don't have the financial backing. It's just literally me and all these hustles. How do I make it happen? And
Right.
I'll have to have a moment with myself. Like your problem right now is you're asking how.
Right.
Why are you asking how?
Where's your faith?
Where is it? Because
Okay.
if this was what you were called to do, and if this is what you believe you were born to do,
Mm.
and you were gifted that,
Yes,
Why
girl.
won't you be gifted the way to make it? Come on now, you know? So
Mhm.
I'm honest enough with myself to admit that that's something I still struggle with
Yeah.
because of the years, the decades of
Mhm.
not knowing how to make things happen and figuring stuff out on my own and just feeling so behind at this
Yeah.
age playing catch up, that I still have to remind myself. But I'm grateful that it's not it doesn't come as it comes a lot easier to me now than it
Right.
did a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10
Yeah.
years ago when I didn't even want to be here anymore, you know. So
Right.
it's been a blessing, and it's been a reminder to stay in tune with what your calling is,
Yeah.
and stop focusing on the hows, the whats, the whys, and just focus on doing what your mission is.
Right, girl. Okay, facts. Okay, facts. You preaching, okay?
I
You
appreciate that.
preaching. Okay. I have a few questions prepared for you. I just gotta
Okay.
come to you so you approved. But I do want to get into some of the book talk. Thank you for your introduction so people can follow
It's real.
you. I
It's
really
real.
hope you gain even more followers after this, okay?
Thank you so much.
Just in this encouragement, this moment of supporting each other, it to me it means a lot. It means
Yeah.
a lot for you supporting me and me supporting you.
I
You
appreciate
know,
it. Yeah.
it
It's
comes
beautiful.
natural to
It's
me.
been lovely to wake up every day and see you having posted something that I can relate to or just get inspiration or motivation from. And then
Thank
the next
you.
story, I'm seeing myself. Like, it's the sweetest thing
Aw,
ever. It
I
really
love
is. It
that.
really
I love
is. I
that.
love it. I think I've
Yes.
also struggled with that. Having people in my immediate family and my immediate circle are some of the main people who are saying, "Oh, you should be famous. You should be this," but they don't really much support. So it's
Right.
kind of like, that even that battle and that going back and forth between yourself and those people,
Right.
it's a tough pill to swallow, but you realize eventually that your job is only to reach who you're meant to reach, and
Right.
they're going to
True.
find you if you stay on what your purpose is and you stay in line with your healing and your calling, and just everything that's aligned for you. So I'm very excited to have met you, and that, like you said,
Yes.
our paths aligned and our journeys aligned, and even while I read, there were things that of course didn't align. There were so many things that did, while having so many differences, that it was just it was very eye-opening to, and it also made me feel appreciated reading how much you love music and just all of the things that I
Aw.
related to. It made me understand why you gravitated towards my artistry in the first place.
Yes.
Seeing how
Yes.
much we'll get there when we start
Yes.
going through the pages, but
Girl, you
so much
understand. I love it.
more than you know.
It's
Believe me, I was reading
it's
this like,
what
did
is saying?
did she witness? Am I on the Truman Show? Because I feel like this is my life.
It's very relatable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
I
and even the
too.
parts that aren't relatable in regard to maybe you having gone through them yourself, you certainly know somebody who has. You certainly heard it. You've certainly seen it. And I don't just mean in entertainment. I mean in real life. Like, there's no way around that at all.
Right. I'm telling you, girl. There's no way
Heavy,
around
heavy
it.
stuff.
It is heavy, and we're gonna get into it. So y'all, but put on your seatbelts, okay? Put on your
Look,
seatbelts. So far, you've given me a little bit of feedback, but so far, um, after reading the book or what you've read, your review so far of the book, like, was it relatable to your own life and how?
was it?
Something that
Girl,
really
I'm
stood
sorry. I'm
out.
sitting here. Look, I'm selecting people to share the video with too, because I want to make sure we get some folks in here.
Yes, pay
Not
it
okay. So
forward.
what's crazy is, as I first started to read, right, and I'm reading your family dynamic
Mm-hmm.
and the history of not only, of course, you having been adopted and all of these
Right.
the instances that mold you, right, and
Right.
and the things that you're grateful for, and then your I will say your chosen family, because although you didn't choose them, they chose you.
Right. Right.
So by all intents and purposes, that's still your chosen family. And
Yes.
as I'm reading those parts, and also in relation to your religion, there are parts of it that definitely are like head dead on. And then there are other parts that are complete opposite, yet our
Right.
experience in those situations are so like exactly the same. For example, my mother is not religious by any means. She's
Mhm.
spiritual, but my
Right.
mother does not subscribe to organized religion at all.
Mhm.
She's not. Um, Although her grandmother, she was, her grandmother was a Christian. She was Christian from Louisiana/Mississippi roots. So she was real serious about her Jesus. She didn't play. And she definitely still grew up with the knowledge of church and the understanding of what it's meant to be, meant to be in people's lives and all of those things. But it just was
Right.
not.
Right.
And then on the flip side, my father is extremely religious and very much Christian. I literally started music off as a gospel artist because my father was a gospel rapper. If you've ever been, if you're familiar with the Bay Area gospel rap scene, my father is Big E.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. Wait a
Oh, I
second.
told you eventually. As soon as I started name dropping, because I know you couldn't. I said, I'm telling you, we gonna find some stuff out because you don't
What?
grow up in the local Bay Area scene doing music and not know all of the local Bay Area. Because it was such a small yet well known family, if you will. So like Ager Man, Christ for Life,
What? Those are
like
old
those
school
were like the
ones.
men who were like my uncles and
Wow.
and yeah. So I grew up
You grew up in
real
church.
entrenched.
What?
Say that again.
So
Yeah,
you
real
grew up.
entrenched, with the
Okay.
artists, like for
Okay.
sure. Like so that was my. It was weird, because I had on flip side, my mom, like I said, is spiritual but not at all religious. We don't go to church. We don't
Right.
that's not my daily life at home, and that's who I'm
Right.
with every day. But then
Right.
on weekends I'm going to church with my dad and performing and
Okay.
all of these things, doing gigs and family barbecues and soul food events and having people at our house to come record their tracks and stuff because my father always had a studio. So it was definitely, there were for sure parts of just you explaining and demonstrating your family dynamic that for
Right.
sure I related to, and then of course other parts that were definitely in regard to my daily everyday household that weren't relatable. But again, like I said, our experiences as individuals, regardless of our household dynamics, were
Right.
very relatable. Just the when you talked about being bullied and your experiences in school. I actually don't even talk about that a lot. I wasn't per se bullied in the sense of, the stories you hear about of the kids who just are nonstop picked on all day, every day, and life is just a torment for them by any means. But I was absolutely bullied in the sense of my mother had a credit card for certain stores, so that's where we got our clothes because that was easiest and most feasible for her. And
Right.
they were name brand now. People love Eddie Bauer now, but when I was a kid, that was just camping gear. You weren't wearing that to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Like. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't do Payless, but we did Skechers. I
Mm.
literally bought my fair. You talked a lot about Jordans in your book. I didn't buy my first pair of Jordans literally until last year. It was,
No.
yeah, mom, it was not a thing. You also talked about K Swiss in your book. That is my father's favorite shoe and the only shoe he would buy us.
Oh.
So like, it didn't matter what shoe I wanted. We were getting K Swiss for our birthday. That was it. That's what Eric wanted you to wear. That's what you were wearing. So just those little instances, like I said, there were little pieces that were very, very exciting for me to read because they were nostalgic and brought back memories. And
Yeah.
like I said, although I wasn't, heavily bullied in regard to, being tormented every day, I was always overweight. So that was a thing. You talked about your gap. I've hated my gap my entire life.
Girl.
I've closed it three times. If I try to close it again, that will now be my third time. God keep trying to get me to keep this gap. Me and
It's.
God gonna keep going back and forth. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not ready yet.
It's.
I'm gonna try and get some permanent closers first. But just the little stuff like that I related to. And I know that me being a singer was one of the things that made people want to be my friend. It was because I was the light skinned girl with curly hair who people thought was ambiguous.
Right.
And you explained that, like I've even the other day, a guy slid in my DMs and was like, what's your nationality or what's your ethnicity? And although I'm not, because I'm very pro black. So and I'm very not pro ignorance.
Right.
So, like, although I understand that is such a confusing topic for people,
Right.
I will admit God is still working on me when it comes to the not having the expressions on my face. You think I'm ambiguous just because to you I don't look like what a black girl should look like. And for me that's disgusting. You know, like
I
yeah,
know.
at the end of the day, race in this country is based on your phenotype. If you are looking at my nose and see anything other than a black woman, you are not looking at my face.
Girl.
You know? So I say all of that to say it was just the little stuff, man, that I related to a lot when it came to your early upbringing and just how your family dynamic came to be and how religion played a role in your family versus how it played a role in mine, yet we still had a lot of the same experiences. We loved a lot of the same things. You talk about
Yeah.
the artists that you love, and every single artist you name are artists that cultivated me.
Yes.
Brandy literally being my favorite
Oh,
singer. Even when you mention Breezy, we know how I feel about Breezy. You know, just
yes.
your memories that you share and even the way you jump around and you try and explain how scatterbrained you are based on your memories. That
Yes.
I get it. I have insomnia, I have epilepsy, and although I'm not actively having seizures and my medicine has worked from day one, that still impacts your memory
Oh, yeah.
and what you're able to recall.
Mm.
And just reading you be scatterbrained made me feel so seen. I don't know. It was like
At least you can accept
it
it.
made me feel
Well, put
seen
it
because
down.
I that's me.
Okay.
And it doesn't always make sense to people and I get it. It may be hard to understand, but if you actually listen to the intent and
Yeah.
if you actually just stop trying to make sense of maybe the order in which I'm saying it and just
Right.
read what I'm saying, then
Yeah.
regardless, the message is still there.
True.
And maybe you don't chronologically understand what I'm saying, but I did because I got every bit. I got all of the jumping around, but maybe that's just because of how I think too. I don't know. But I related so much to just every aspect of you expressing your experiences internally.
Right.
And even if I didn't necessarily relate to, having a Bible in my pocket all the time like your father did,
Right.
or being in church and wanting to be a part of certain parts of the ministry. I didn't really want to be a praise dancer. I did, however, love the praise and worship part of.
Right.
I love music, so that was like my favorite part of church. I do remember sometimes literally dreading when it was time for the sermon
I
because
know.
I always knew that I was about to get a message that I was not either understanding of or I didn't feel, what's the best way to describe it? When you're young and you're coming into just God and religion in general, and you don't really understand the ways in which your sins are,
It sounds
are
confusing, right?
affecting you,
Right.
or the ways in which you are more so wearing what the world is telling you is wrong with you versus what God is actually calling you to do. More specifically, when you talked about your experience with your sexuality
Mm-hmm.
and that battle,
Yeah.
I knew from a young child that I liked women.
Right.
All like, I mean, we're talking like kindergarten. I knew from a very young age I liked women.
Mm-hmm.
And because I grew up in a household where my mother was not religious,
Mm-hmm.
that was something that I didn't fear on that aspect, on that side.
Right.
And then I start going to church where I feel all of these connections and I can hear the messages that are meant for me, but yet those messages are followed with what I'm going to hell for my desires. And
Right.
God makes no mistakes, which means that I was born a mistake in my mind, right? Because if I'm 8, 9 years old and I don't even understand these attractions, but I do know that that's what I'm naturally gravitating towards. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm hearing messages where I'm like, yeah, that tracks, and I relate to that. But then on the flip side of that, I'm also hearing, but again, you are made in God's image, and these are the things that you should and should not be doing. It was
Right.
a very, very hard time for me.
Right.
So
Right.
when you went into talking about all of the things that pulled you away from God and away from church, I think that
Yes.
is where you went from talking about being younger and getting acclimated with your mother and your father and your family and your siblings and
Yes.
being, acclimated with her health issues and you having to be such a young child and taking on such an adult role.
Right.
Um
Right. You
all
remember.
of that definitely was heavy for me to both read and as someone who is very empathetic and compassionate, I'm reading poor little you go through things that are going to make you a greater woman, but also things that I know as I'm reading them are going to severely traumatize you, you know?
Yeah.
So as I'm going through from that phase to somewhat relating to the religious part, but more so very much relating to your internal battle, to
Right.
now we're switching into you growing, you know, becoming older and getting into teenhood and adulthood,
Yeah.
where you're also somewhat being pulled a little bit further away from the church and the religion. Now we're getting into the point where almost everything you're saying I align with,
Right.
because now we're getting into what my battles were both in religion and inside of me internally, especially when we talk about sexuality and what people's, you know, views of that are in society and religious beliefs about what that may be. And for a long time that was a big struggle for me, and I tried to pray the gay away, and I tried to do be things that I wasn't in naturally. And ultimately I think the decision, and maybe even, you know, maybe one day I'll find out I made the wrong decision, who knows, you know, we are all ever growing, we're ever changing, God is always working on us, and we will never be perfect beings.
Right.
But for me, I think the best understanding that I could come to was that God was not going to create me the way that I was if I was
Mhm.
designed to fail.
Right.
And whether that meant I was supposed to one day grow up and realize that I wasn't bisexual, or at the time, a lesbian,
Right.
whether I was going to grow up and realize I wasn't a lesbian, whether I was going to grow up and realize that this is who I am, and maybe the world doesn't have an understanding of what God meant by God is love, and we have to, you know,
Right.
whether that was okay, I am in fact living a sin, and you know, and that's something I have to deal with, you know, that turmoil in a young person
Right. Yeah.
is
And hiding it for me, it was hiding it all the time, hiding it.
yes,
Never was
yes,
able to be out in the open. I hid it from my family, from my brother. Like it was, I was in shame. I
yeah,
was living in shame. It was like a
yes,
dark cloud of shame. Like I knew what I was taught from a little girl, and I was like, God, I know I'm not supposed. I'm just gonna keep ignoring you. I'm gonna keep pushing you
yep,
back and
yep,
further. And I got further into the world and further into these trenches of the world. So it I just hearing you how you can relate to my book is just
definitely.
so,
So I mean,
so
there's so much, like, this genuinely felt like reading an alternate version of my life, if that makes sense. And when I say an alternate version, I mean the only part that felt alternate were literally the parts that I could not personally say I experienced in
right.
my own life, even because I still saw them, right?
Yeah.
I know what it's like to have a church going family, you know, some cousins, and they at church all day, every day, handing out cups of juice, and they got the
Mm-hmm.
kids. Somebody is back there running the children's church.
Three times, yeah.
Somebody's up here running the choir.
But
I've dated people who, whether men or female, who were entrenched in church, and I got to experience what that was for them. So I genuinely related in more ways than I knew going in, obviously, based on the little bit we could feel from each other
yeah.
energetically and spiritually in
Yeah.
our little conversations and in the sharing of posts,
Yeah.
and watching you talk about your story and all of the things, and the more so, you know, the heartbreaking things you've experienced.
Yeah.
Of course, especially those things I really really related to, and a lot of them, of course, you know, made me emotional as well, having experienced some of them.
Right.
um but I mean, it was literally, like I said, just like I said, reading an alternate version of my life, reading another me, just in a different. And then you factor in that we both have curly hair. You factor in that we're both light skinned with gaps. You factor in, you know, you factor in all of these things, and it's just like, okay, God, is this like my alternate twin or what? Like, what's happening here? You know, because some of this stuff is given. This is
Crazy.
me.
This is crazy. It's like,
Yeah,
look
it
at you.
really was. I mean, I
Reminding you.
especially, I promise you, when I got specifically the music and all of that, like I said, it made me feel appreciated, just because watching you talk about your love for music, and coming home and doing your homework and then going to watch 106 in Park, or, you know, just of course, all of the things that us 80s babies slash 90s kids were raised on. We
Yes.
all relate to those things, but
Yeah.
it's a bit different when you add that on to, oh, but I also have identity crisis baggage. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have grown men are looking at me because I'm too curvy, or not too curvy, but their eyes are too, it's something wrong with what they're doing with their eyes. It ain't my body, it's
Not our
me.
fault. Yeah, it was
So
our fault.
you factor in, I'm not just relating to the everyday aspects of what it was like to be a kid or a teenager during this
Right.
time, but you add in the trauma of assaults, you add in the trauma of domestic violence, you add in the trauma of just trying to find yourself and battling what society is telling you you are and all of these things. That's where it went from, okay, I'm not just reading a book and supporting someone who I want to see thrive and shine and have her story be heard. I'm also reading other perspectives of my experiences, and I'm
Right.
also finding other ways that this person may have coped that were beneficial or detrimental.
Right.
And it's just such a, it's both eye-opening, it's comforting, as sad as it can also be.
Right.
I think the comfort part is one of the best parts, because a
Aw.
lot of times, especially as women, as young Black women, as women of color, you go through these things in life. And like you said, the same thing, the same way you're silent about whatever your struggle is with your sexuality, and you don't tell people, and you're ashamed and all of these things. It's kind of the same way you move through life with these experiences. Like, you only share the ones that you know are not taboo, or you only share the ones that you know the people you're sharing them with are going to hear and accept,
Yes.
versus give you criticism or judgment
I told
or
it all.
cast, or
Yeah.
both, all, right, or
Actually,
get
you can
to
tell
running
them.
off and gossiping about you, and again, or both, all of the things, so it was just very, very, very heartwarming to read,
Thank you.
again, some very, very heartbreaking, tear jerking, all of the things. That's
Right.
some of these pages. Whew.
It's
Some
it.
of these pages I had to stop and say, okay, hold on.
Aw.
I need to sit with that, because right now it's in my chest and it's becoming a ball. And now I'm not just crying for her, I'm crying for me. And as much as I know that that is something that is a blessing for me, because most people don't talk about the things that you share in this book, the things
Right.
that I talk about in my songs. Most
Yes.
people don't share that stuff. Most people don't talk about having addictions
Yeah.
to anything. Most
Right.
people aren't willing to say, yeah, I've snorted this, or I've popped that, or
Hmm.
I've done this, I've done that,
Right.
because the backlash that comes along with it is is sometimes a bigger wound,
Oh yeah.
or sometimes maybe not a bigger wound per se, but it gets drug out longer, or people remember it and they throw it in your face for the rest of your life. And
Girl. That's the
yeah,
that's the worst. The ones that
right, because
keep
why
putting
can't
you
I
in
grow?
the
Why
past.
can't I change? Why can't I be better? And I think those parts were just really the parts that made me feel the most seen and the most understood and the most excited for not only the people who already are in our realm of support systems, and our realm of people who are inspired or motivated by our journeys and our stories. But it just made me excited for all of the people we're meant to heal. It made me
Mhm.
excited for all of the assignment that, even no matter how hard or stressful or depressing, or woe is me, or I don't know, God, how am I going to do this?
Mm.
All of the things that come along with having a real mission.
Yeah.
um it made me excited for what that means for both of us as individuals, both of us as two people who are supporting each other,
Yeah.
and both of us as for the audience that we have and the people we're meant to reach. It genuinely made me excited to read, again, such compelling yet heartbreaking stories, while knowing that all of this serves a purpose. And
Yeah.
that was something you mentioned over and over and over in this book, that you were aware,
Mm.
even while I mean, I just got the vision of what I was reading. When you are describing your situation with your first child's father.
Ooh, girl. I think it's almost time for you to do your testimony, but go ahead. Mm.
I had a moment where, and this is a moment of me being both honest and accountable, right? Because a lot of times we're hearing or reading people's stories, and we even have an eye of judgment, or we're reading something and we're like, well, why would she do that? And it
Right.
was when you got your place,
Yes,
and
girl.
you're talking about how the landlord will not let that man come.
Yes.
And I'm reading that and I'm like, baby, why in the HE double hockey sticks are we trying? I was screaming in here. Like I'm screaming now.
Why would you
I
want him
said,
to come there?
why are we trying to
I
house
was
this man?
young.
And in that moment, as I am judging what I'm reading, right? Well, also, of course, caring about the fact that you're about to make potentially a terrible decision for yourself and your son. I'm like, you know what? Let me shut up and reel that in. Because as I'm reading this while sad for her, as
Mm.
I'm reading this while heart, like literally tears streaming down my eyes, and even relating to certain parts of it, and like you said, testimony, we can get into it. I'm
Yes.
also I'm also having to humble myself
Mm.
because I now in 2025 am healing from almost 3.5 years, almost 4 years of literally the last 3.5 years of my life. I just
Mm.
dropped an album last. It's not even a year old,
Right.
in which
July,
I'm talking
actually,
about
right?
being manipulated. I'm
Wow.
talking about being emotionally abused. I'm talking
Mm.
about only being an object to someone. I'm
Wow.
still in love with this person now. I'm still having to remind myself, hey, it's okay that you allowed yourself to slip back into behaviors that you thought you had outgrown. It's
Right.
okay that you thought you have maybe fully learned and were walking in your worth. And now you're realizing I might have allowed this person to have more power and more chances.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. In fact, it actually shows how good of a person I am, because I chose to treat this person like they were human
Right.
and could have room to grow and make mistakes, because I know what that feels like. And
Yes.
as I'm reading this portion of your story, where, like I said, my first intent is, I'm ready to go snatch him up for her. She wilding. He can't come live with her and that child. Is she crazy? Again, I'm having a moment where I'm like, my friends have said to me in recent years, I am so tired of repeating that this man is beneath you and you need to cut him off.
Mm.
I'm so tired of asking, who are you and what have you done with my friend who knows her worth? Because right now you acting like you don't.
Wow.
I'm so tired of hearing you sing these heartbroken songs about
Mm.
ain't worthy people with bad behaviors, and you saw the red flags coming and you just chose to ignore them. I
Right.
appreciated that moment,
Right.
because I went, again, as I'm reading this sentence, very, and again, not with the eye of judgment, of course, like, oh my God, I could never, but very much just, she deserves better than this. And how could she, after everything I've just read her go through, as violent and as violent as those pictures you are that you describe your physical body went through. I couldn't imagine going through some of the stuff you went through. And knowing that even after that, you were like, well, let me try and find a place for him to go so my son can have their dad. It was just that part. Oh God, it was just so hard to read. And it was so hard to have to sit with myself in that moment and say, I don't have a right. None of us have a right to judge anybody's situation. And again, I didn't firmly judge, but even just that quick moment of, girl, what are you doing? That's what we have to remember.
Right.
There are too many situations in your own life that you are not recalling
Girl.
when you are going to go poke fun or cast your rolled eyes, or
Mm.
go whisper about somebody else's truth
It could
or
be
their
you.
history.
It
There are
could be
too
you.
many times of your life that you are probably ignoring and forgetting about, in which
Mm.
somebody was doing the same thing to you and you didn't like it.
Mm.
Or even if you didn't know that they were doing it, it was happening and you wouldn't have liked it had you known about it.
Mm.
And I just appreciate even those moments in which I am being reminded to stay humble,
Yeah.
and to keep my mirror in my face,
Ooh.
because those are the moments that are the most teachable.
Yeah.
And testimony wise, in
Please.
these moments, I'm having to also experience what I'm still healing from. To most people, domestic violence means I've dated someone who was abusing me. And that's not at all the case. You don't always have to be in the relationship, like, romantically, with
Right.
with what is considered domestic violence. Domestic violence is if you get into a fight with your friend, that's considered domestic. You fight your father or your mother, that's considered domestic.
Right.
In my case, although I had a relationship where there was one instance that got a little physical, and that was a relationship with a woman, so the dynamics are a bit different.
Right.
But although I have had that one instant, for overall, I had never experienced what you went through. I had never dated someone who had physically harmed me. I've
Right.
never dated not with their hands anyway. I personally feel like emotional abuse can physically harm you.
Yeah.
I personally feel like verbal abuse can translate to physical harm
Oh yeah.
depending on who you are and how it manifests in you. Now,
Right.
is that person physically harming you with their own hands? No, but their words said something to you that made you do something physical.
Yes.
So I believe, we don't get to tell someone what their abuse looks like and feels like for them and how it manifests in them. But
Agree.
while I'm reading you literally explain and divulge such heartbreaking and again violent images of bruising and just blood and all of the things that I'm so very, very, very sorry your beautiful body had to endure, I'm then now being taken somewhere where a family member of mine did experience those things.
Mm.
And that family member was not protecting themselves.
Mm.
And that family member was absolutely willing, because me and that family member grew up loving. You talk about this too. When you learn love from damaged people, when you
Mm.
learn love from people who are so flawed,
Yes.
you learn to accept people who maybe not by any means aren't deserving of your love. We all are deserving of love and should be given it. But there's also a such thing as a time and a place and when a person is worthy of what you may have to offer them.
Right.
And when you grow up learning to love addicts, or for example, my father has always been an addict. And when your father is a great dad to you but has these other flaws, you're learning to love a flawed person, which then teaches you that maybe love isn't always what society says it's supposed to be. Maybe it's not always smooth sailing. Maybe it's okay to love this person who drinks too much. Maybe it is okay to love this person who yells at me and calls me stupid or ugly or fat. Maybe it is, you're taught such a tarnished way to love and receive love. So I say all of that to say, watching this family member accept love from, or what they thought was love, because it definitely wasn't that,
Right.
accept this situation that is so unbecoming of them, and it involves their life being,
Right.
in harm's way. As this person's family member who's older than them, that's not. I'm a very militant person. I'm a very, if it's gonna cost me my life and it saves you, I will.
Right.
So my experience with domestic violence was me showing up to save that person's life, or at least to
Wow.
protect them from themselves, and it resulted in me being stabbed twice.
What?
So we're talking 2020 and
Wow.
2019 actually. So really, it was more so trauma on top of trauma, if you will. I
Oh my
tried to commit
God.
suicide in 2016,
Oh my.
and then I got sober because I struggled with addiction to liquor, and that was how I coped with my childhood trauma and just being a teenager and having a mom who worked her butt off and was always financially there. You even talked about that, how you were able to, your mom did whatever she could to get you guys whatever you wanted in reason. That was
Right.
very much my mother. Our Christmases
Right.
were insane.
Right.
But emotionally, I didn't feel, supported much. There were certain instances with certain topics. For example, my sexuality. I knew I was safe with my mother.
Right.
I made my sister tell my daddy I was a lesbian. I couldn't say the words. I literally was sitting in the car and I was like, I can't do like literally, I'm in the car, present but mute, and I let my sister, and she blurts out, "So she likes girls." That's just how it gets told, like, thank you, I could have done that. But like, all of this trauma and this baggage that you carry that molds what you're willing to accept. and
Yes.
I'm watching this family member accept this stuff.
Mm,
And I'm carrying all of this baggage, and from 2016 from my own suicide attempt, and then in
mm,
2017 one of my longtime friends was murdered.
mm,
In 2018 I realized, after working on my self-love and my suicide, healing from my suicide attempt, and realizing, okay, I got some work to do on myself, and
right.
fixing those things, I then out of nowhere wake up coming out of my house looking at men in a manner in which I've never looked at them before. And now all of a sudden I'm realizing I'm bisexual. I'm not a lesbian. I do like men.
Okay.
And then there was that journey in 2018. And then in 2019, at the end of the year, I was almost raped in my home by someone who was supposed to be, and it's a trip because I've never outed him. I blocked him on social media, and he continues to create pages to try and find me. I know other artists
Mm,
who I've had to block because they work with him, and I battle with that all the time. Like, I'm very much the call a predator out person, but I also
mhm.
understand that the danger that comes with that as a woman,
Yes.
and the lengths men are willing to go to protect themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So knowing that I went from, again, suicide attempt, to my friend dying, to me, my sexuality changing after 28 years of being a lesbian,
Wow.
to now 2019, this man who I'm seeking guidance for how to lose weight with the physical ailments I have. I have a spinal disease.
Mhm.
And it does prevent me from being able to, maneuver in manners that someone my age would be able to maneuver. And I wanted him to be able to help me with learning, fitness tips and all of that. That was his forte. He
Yeah.
wanted, to find someone he could bounce ideas off with music and all of these things.
Mm.
And to make a long story short, one day he randomly DM'd me saying that he was in my neighborhood and he wanted to come pop by and link up. I was like, I just woke up, not really the best time. Same way you were in that car.
Right.
Same way you were in that car knowing you shouldn't be in that car on the way to that airport.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
And
like,
you
a sense
felt it
of
in your
smell.
gut, like something is different, something has changed. And I had never met this man in person, but we had been friends on social media for at least 5 years by this time. We know actual people in common that have known me for years in real life.
Crazy.
So I'm thinking, we
Right.
have enough connections to where I'm okay.
You think
But
you know?
even still, it's too early for me. I'm not a morning person. I'm like, no, I'm cool. Maybe another time. And he just keeps asking and keeps asking. And I'm like, all right, whatever, fine.
Hmm.
I go out into the hallway of my building, and we have a buzzer to where you have to be able to be buzzed in to get into the building. And
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, like I said, the same way you had that, something bad's about to happen. I
Yes.
came out in that hallway, and for some reason he was. It was, and it's not uncommon. We all have lived in apartment buildings. You know what it's like to follow somebody else in behind as they're going in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not uncommon. That's not an alarming thing. But for some reason, him already being in the hallway of my building, it shook something in my spirit.
You felt it. You felt it. You felt it.
Yep. There was just something weird about it. And then furthermore, he knew I was coming out to come meet him to bring him into my apartment, but he was staring at the directory like he was trying to figure out which floor or apartment and I don't know why. I mean, I know why now. God gives you, he gonna give you the warnings. Your spirit gonna give you the warnings.
For sure.
It's
For
up to you to
sure.
listen and to understand them, and to really take heed to them. And I didn't.
Yes.
That stood out to me, but for some reason I just allowed it to leave my mind. And
Right.
that man was not in my home more than 10 minutes before I was fighting. You also talk about your ganja smoke. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I am a firm believer that herb use can be good for you, depending on what your angst is. I do also believe it can be addicting and absolutely be problematic.
Right.
It really just depends on what you're doing with it,
Right.
and how often, in my opinion. And again, I don't ever say anything that I expect anybody to run with. So if you are watching this, just so we are clear,
We're good.
nothing I say I expect anybody to take as if I
Right.
expect you to live accordingly.
We're good.
Ultimately, I believe God reaches us in whatever way we are supposed to be reached.
Oh yeah.
Whether that means you are a Jehovah's Witness, a Christian, whether you're like me and believe in God but don't subscribe per se to organized religion.
Right.
I believe we are meant to meet God in whatever we're meant to meet God, and He's God. Whether you believe is an entity, a being, a man, a woman, whatever,
Right.
God reaches how God is supposed to reach you,
Yes.
and that looks different for everybody, in
Yeah.
my personal opinion. So I
Yeah.
say all of that to say, I should have known, and I got the message, and I ignored it, and I was smoking, and I wasn't paying attention because I'm used to smoking by myself. So I'm looking down at my phone, smoking like this, and he asked if he could hit it, and I didn't look up when I went to hand him the blunt. I just handed it to him like this while still looking at my phone. But when I went to go get it back, obviously I got to pay attention, or else I'm gonna get burned by the cherry to go grab it. So I
Right.
look up to grab it, and when I looked up, that man had his genitals just out, in just unprovoked. And I'm
Wow.
like, whoa, what the? And I will say there was also a moment where it was hard for me to realize what was happening because, and this is not, this part of the story is a bit interesting. And take with it what you will.
Take your
I
time.
chuckled for a second.
Time.
Because what I saw was like, sir, what do you think like, please get out of my house violating me with that. Like, respectfully, again, I'm not saying this to be, any kind of prude or anything like that, but that moment was vital because I laughed.
Mm.
I laughed at what I saw, and instead of those couple of seconds could have been used where
Mm.
I'm too busy like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, and what is that? What do you think you're doing with that? Like, I'm too busy, not knowing that this man is a real threat to my peace and to how
Oh.
I feel in my body. And even that little moment was a lesson for me because while I was both shocked and unprepared, and again, kind of like, sir, at the same time, those vital seconds could have been used for me to get away from him, for me to run out of my home, for
Right.
me to get away, to push him out or to whatever, to grab a weapon, something. Right, literally, those moments could have been used for something
And
more important. But through the shock of it all and the underwhelmingness of it all, I just was kind of like, yo, you need to go. Like, I don't, and I'm blocking my face like a 10-year-old.
wow.
Like, you need to go. Like, I don't know what you got going on in your head. This is not, he's married at the time, mind you. I can't remember if his wife was either still 9 months pregnant or if she had just had their daughter, but it's one of the two. Either she was still 9 months pregnant and about to pop, or she had literally just popped and had their daughter. And I'm
Wow.
like, I don't know what you got going on, but like, I'm not that type of woman. I don't want nothing nobody else got. Let's be clear. You don't get blessed by trying to take nothing, something, some.
That's
That's
a
not
real
how that
woman.
works.
That's a real woman right there.
I don't want that. I'm cool. No,
Mm.
thank you. You need to go home and figure that out. And the next thing I know, he was jumping on top of me, and I spent the next 30 minutes fighting to get him off of me.
Oh.
And the scariest part was when I went to go bite him, thinking, okay, well, if I use, if I literally try and hurt this man, maybe he'll leave me alone. And when I went to go bite him, he kind of, that's when I realized I was dealing with a real psycho. He got turned on by that and was kind of like egging, like, yeah, bite me. I need the hurt. I need the pain. Now I'm freaking terrified. More
Mm-mm.
terrified. I mean, I remember, and I had sexual assault trauma as a child as well. I was molested from the first time I was molested. I was about 8 years old, and it was by a family member,
Wow.
um, a blood relative family member, a very close one, in fact. And then the second and continued time was by two young boys who were married into my family.
Mm.
And they molested me from the time I was like 9 years old until I was like 14 or 15.
Wow.
Um, One of them more specifically was like very intent. I think he might have even actually maybe liked me. I'm not sure. What I do know is I remember in that moment, this being grown, me being an adult, and this is happening now. And I'm a grown person. He's a grown person. He's not a young boy like these were. And I
Right.
don't want to make excuses for molestation happening between children because at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Right.
And I do understand that a lot of times you become a perpetrator without even knowing, simply
Right.
because that was your experience and you
Right.
don't know what that means.
Right.
So I definitely have a different view of what it means to be, a victim of of another child or someone around your age. I still, however, don't I don't separate that from being a victim. There's some people who feel like if it's a child, that's more so experimenting and learning, and I personally don't feel like that. I feel
Right.
like that child should have been cultivated and
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by people who would have taught him or her that that behavior is unacceptable. And
Exactly.
if they weren't taught that, then they are a perpetrator, whether or not they meant to
Exactly.
be a perpetrator. And in the instance of the children I'm talking about, they weren't just perpetrators, they were wild. Like, one of them used to cut the fingers off of gloves and use them. Yeah. And he's like two,
Yeah.
3 years younger than me. So I remember I brought that up just to give this the mindset I'm in. You have to understand that I've already been a victim to
Right.
understand that in this moment as a grown person, I've
Mm-hmm.
never been an adult victim. And
Mm.
I just remember while trying to fight him off of me, I literally turned my head to the side and I'm staring at the side of my dresser, almost like I left my body. And
Wow.
all I could remember saying was, well, I guess this is the day I finally officially get raped. Like, I know it. This is the day. This is the day I'm sexually assaulted and I'm carrying the baggage around of someone using my body in a manner in which I now have the power and the voice to speak up for, but I don't know how. Because when I was a child and people were doing things to me, to my body that I didn't like or I didn't understand, I would just lay there in silence. I didn't
Mm.
want to cause commotion. I didn't want to cause a problem. And the very first time it happened, I did tell someone and nothing was done about it. And I was still around these boys and had to spend my life with these boys being a part of my family, and know that I tried to warn the adults around me that this was what my experience was before it became something continual. And
Mm.
no one, did what I think should have been done.
Right.
And as an adult, having this real moment where I'm like, okay, well, now I'm an adult and I have the power to speak up and I can't.
Right.
And that moment in my head, I was like, yeah, well, I guess this is the moment I get raped. It's gonna finally happen. And as I literally started to be okay with that thought, as crazy as that, not okay with the action of the thought, but just, like, this is apparently I'm just an object. Something in my mind said, no, baby, you're a grown person now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open your mouth.
Right.
Stand up for yourself, or this is always going to be your life. You
Right.
will always be run over and literal doo-doo on the bottom of somebody's shoe.
It's true.
If you do not learn to stand up for yourself and not care how people take it. And I
Mm.
just, it was literally like a switch went on. I went from laying there like a zombie, like this is just going to happen, to screaming, swinging, biting, kicking.
Something
I
lit a
was going to hurt
fire.
that man. I was going to
Wow.
hurt that man at all costs. And by the
Wow.
grace of God, with me having a spinal disease and a bad bum knee, I don't know how I managed to somewhat get the upper hand, but all of that throwing my body around, he finally lost control because he had my arms with both hands and then was pinning me down at my hips from my legs down with his torso and his legs. So I mean, he's literally like all of his body weight. He works out every day. I'm trying to get this man to help me work out. I don't have the muscle strength, right? So
Right.
I'm sweating, I'm fighting, and
Mm.
I can't even remember what exactly I did that made him lose his grip. But he finally lost his grip on the side of my right side that was pinning me down, and I must have turned into Jackie Chan in that moment because the way I lifted my right leg and my hip up, I kicked my butt up, and I did some kind of topsy turvy flip over that man. When I tell you, and I'm lucky enough that my first apartment was set up the way it was, because
Man.
my bathroom, the toilet and the tub were behind a door, and then the sink was outside of that, and it had a lock on it. And it was right outside of my bedroom, and then on the other side of that was the living room and the kitchen. So you literally had to pass through my living room to pass my bathroom to get to my bedroom. So I'm in the back of my house while all of this is happening. So it's either jump out the window or I'm screwed. So
Oh
once I
my
was able to
God.
get from under him, I ran in that bathroom and I locked that door. And he was like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "What's wrong?
What do you think?
Have you ever seen that video? You need to leave." Like, I laugh. I can laugh now, right? We talk about how
You can
trauma
laugh through the
is never
pain. Laugh
funny.
through it. It's
It's
okay.
never funny, but there are aspects of it that do become a bit, like, man,
That's how
like
you
you
do
said,
with your
laugh to keep
pain.
from crying. Yeah.
That's how I do it too. I have to laugh through it to keep from crying, and it's okay if you cry too. It's okay.
Listen, and then sometimes there are aspects that are genuinely just, I don't know why, maybe because now I have the understanding again, and like I said, you say this so many times in your book, but when you're going through it, it's woe is me. Why me, God? Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? But
Right.
once you've actually made it to the other side of understanding your testimony and what it's meant to be used for,
Right.
it's not as much of a, as crazy as it may sound to other people who hear it, the wound still exists,
Mm.
but the wound doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't carry the same burden. And you maybe even have your days where some days it does hit that heavy. But for the
Mm.
most part, being on the other side of not wanting to live
Yeah.
and God literally having saved my life, not only from my own suicide attempt, but someone literally stabbing me twice. And I'll expand a little bit more on that before we finish this up. But just knowing that that testimony means something makes it makes it a little bit more lighthearted, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe I just have a dark sense of humor. Either way.
It,
So yeah, I'm behind that door and I'm like, you need to go. I don't know why you thought, I don't know what I did. And at this point, I'm kind of like blaming myself. I'm like, I don't know what I did to give you this impression that I was interested or that that's what I wanted, but that's not it. You need to go now. He faked like he walked out of my door. I heard my front door open and close. I came out my bathroom. He was in my kitchen, hiding behind the dang wall.
oh.
So then I go to my kitchen because I'm sweating and need water. Like I said, I'm not in shape by any means. It's the whole point of me needing this man's help. So now I'm like, okay, well, at least we're closer to my door. Like that's okay, God, we're getting somewhere. I'm getting closer and closer to not being raped. And I remember just taking a sip of my water, and this is where I know, and a lot of people, they don't necessarily believe in the characteristics that come along with zodiac signs and all of that stuff. One thing I definitely believe in is, regardless, that there are certain characteristics that whatever season you're born in, you still may have. I mean, I don't by any means mean that means that that's who you are. Who you are is your experiences and what you learn along the way and how you allow them
Right.
to shape you. But I
Right.
do believe that they can at least give you some insight on to maybe how a person may think,
Mm-hmm.
or their likes or their pleasures and all of that, or even how they may handle a situation.
Mm.
And what is often said about cancers is that we're very intuitive and that we can master manipulate the heck out of a situation. So I say that to say I go into this mode of how am I going to get him out of my home, because
Right.
now I have to play to what he wants and to his. I have to use this weakness I'm currently showing him as a strength.
Mm.
So I take that sip of that water and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of tired. I told you I woke up a little too early, and I was like, I don't really know, you sweating and you're having all of this trouble, and I don't know what I did to make you feel like it was good like that, but it's not. And I think maybe we should just revisit the whole business conversation. Like maybe we should talk about that later.
Mm.
And he's like, well, man, now I feel bad because I done turned you off and I really like you and da da da. And I'm like, you're married. I think I'm like literally pumping his head up. Like, I get it. You're a kind guy. You're very fun to talk to, but that's just not my thing.
Mhm.
And I really respect your wife, even though I don't know her. So maybe you should just go home and figure out why you felt comfortable doing this. And then out of nowhere, he pulls his genitals out again. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? I don't understand. And he's like, look what you made me do. And I'm like, dude, I, I, I don't know what to say at this point anymore. But I said, but you need to leave. And I said, because now I feel like you're not listening to me, and if you wanted us to remain friends, this isn't going to continue to happen. And again, I'm saying whatever I think is going to get him out of my house peacefully. I don't mean any of this.
Right. Right. You're just talking at this point.
Literally. So he finally pulls his pants back up. I get him towards the front door. I open the door and he's just standing in the middle of it, will not walk out. He's just, oh man, I really don't want to leave you now. As if we're in like some kind of relationship and have feelings. And
Oh.
it was just really weird. And I was like, don't worry, we'll talk later. I'll get some rest. You sober up, because you're obviously inebriated or something, and we'll talk about it later. He was like, all right, I'll call you. I was like, okay. And as I'm closing the door, he sticks his foot in the door. I was like, I promise, I'll call you. We're good. You sure we good? I'm like, yeah, we're good. He's like, all right. Well, I'm glad I at least finally got to see him in person. I said, me too. With the fakest of smiles on my face. As soon as he moved his foot, I slammed that door and locked it. And I spent the next 3 hours staring at the wall. like, what just happened? And what do I do about this? And at the time, my best friend was living with me because he needed some help. And when he came home from work that day, I told him what happened. And he was like, yeah, you were definitely just sexually assaulted and you need to do something about it. And I was like, and well, what if I gave him some kind of impression that I liked him? What if I did this? What if I did that? What if I just, what if I did that for at least 2-3 days?
Oh my
And
God.
I remember that night I couldn't sleep. I remember the next night I couldn't sleep. Ironically, I actually think this is what kickstarted my insomnia. Well, I feel like this is what sent it over the edge. I do feel like I never got used to being single again after my suicide attempt and the relationship that I felt like kicked that, me not even wanting to be here, off in the first place.
Right.
So that definitely, when you're used to having someone next to you, it's not easy to get used to sleeping alone. So I definitely think that's what kicked off my insomnia. But I feel like this incident is what created the monster it is now, because I could not sleep. I was just flashbacking through the moments of trying to kick him off of me, and hearing his voice over, get off of me and all of these things, and him wanting to, me trying to bite him, and that becoming some kinky thing for him. Like, I just couldn't sleep. And after the 5th day, I finally called the police and I reported it. And sad part about it is they picked him up. He tried to say it was consensual. I gave them my Instagram account and all of my login information so they could read the messages for themselves, in which they could see that I had never once made a pass at this man. And anytime he had flirted with me, I turned it down and made it very clear that I was only ever interested in business.
Right.
They were doing their best to try and get him to admit to what he did. But they had enough to at least prove that he had imprisoned me in my home. Because I was able to describe parts of his body that I should not have been able to see as just a friend or a business person. But he didn't want to end up on the list. So he fought really hard, really, 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 really hard to not end up on that dang list. And because of it, he took a plea deal in which, instead of him doing jail time and getting 5 years probation, they gave him 10 years probation, but he didn't have to register. And
What?
that's the part, yeah. And that's the part for me that sucks, I think, because I've seen him around other women. I've seen him out in public, actually. He just didn't see me.
He's
That's one of the things that's kept me from going to the gym. He goes to the gym that's closest to my house. And I've wanted to say something every time, especially being the outspoken person I am. I've wanted to say, stay away from that man. But
okay.
again, I don't know what he's capable of, or what he's willing to do. And he also has children. And I know what it's like to exhaust. I would do any and everything I could for my niece and nephew. So I can only imagine being a parent.
Right.
Whether I'm right or wrong, I'm gonna exhaust any and all opportunities I can to never not be away, be around them. So it's been a tough battle over the years healing from that. And that, like I said, that was December 2018, and then, or excuse me, 2019. 3 months later, March 2020, is when I'm trying to save the family member from the domestic violence situation in which I was stabbed. Um,
Those are people.
and to make that pretty short, because it's graphic, but the moral of the story is I absolutely was undeniably. If I didn't believe in everything God could do before that, it ain't nothing nobody could ever do to make me question God after that. Because not only could I hear my friend who was murdered in 2017 in my head, as before he went to stab me, I could hear her say, "Get up, like prepare yourself." And I'm like, she been dead for 3 years. I'm gonna listen to whatever this is telling me to get up, because I don't know why I'm hearing it, but something's saying get up, so I'm gonna get up. And I got up. And the moment I got up, he came out that door and stabbed me straight in my forehead. And I immediately fell to the ground. And I spent the next, what felt like 20 minutes, even though it was only a couple. I could probably no more than like maybe 3 minutes, 3 to 5. Unfortunately, my mom would be able to tell you better than I would, because I was on the phone with her. So she unfortunately had to hear me get stabbed and hear me trying to fight this person off. But I know, between hearing my friend tell me to stand up and prepare myself, and between the fact that I'm still alive, that there's nothing anybody could ever tell me or question, or get me to question God's existence and the calling that I have and the purpose I am meant to fulfill, because after that man stabbed me in my forehead, I fell to the ground because of how hard he hit me.
Wow.
And I just immediately began trying to block hits, like block
Yeah.
whatever I could, because he just continued all over my body. So I'm now I'm thinking, this is the moment. It's true what they say. Your life truly flashes before your eyes. I, I, I can't tell you every memory that flashed before my eyes,
Right.
but I can absolutely tell you from childhood all the way up until whatever moments were before that. I literally just got this quick synopsis of my life, if you will, in my mind. And I can just remember thinking, God, not like this. Like, I still have stuff to accomplish. I still have
Right.
demons to conquer. I can still be better than yesterday, and I still have to heal, and I still have people to love. Like, God, please, not like this. And
Right.
that's what was going through my head as I'm just blocking all of these hits.
Wow.
While in my mind, I've seen him swing at least 100 times. I've felt what I thought was a knife hit my body at least 100 times.
Wow.
And when the ambulance finally got there and they start to rip off my clothes, I'm telling them, just check everything, check everything. He stabbed me everywhere. And they're like, ma'am, we only see blood coming from this place. Mind you, actually, I'm skipping a part. Once
Second.
he thought he was done with me,
Girl, I'm about to cry. Wait a second. Wait a second.
once he thought he was done with me, he took off running towards the end of the hallway so he could exit the building. I stood up and I took my hoodie off of my arm because the blood is now pouring in my eyes and I can't see. I take the sleeve of my hoodie to like try and coagulate the blood on my forehead.
Right.
And once he saw me stand up, he came charging right back at me, realizing I was not dead. And again, I hear my friend, and she's like, I can't remember what she said in this moment, but all I heard was go, just go, just go. And I ran into the apartment building that he had just come out of, and I locked the door. Whole time there was an old man in there with Alzheimer's or dementia. Whole time I'm being stabbed in the hallway, there is a man in this apartment building, and I'm now like looking for a phone, getting blood all over this person's house, looking for a phone because mine is in the hallway with my mother on it, just hearing all of this. I can hear her screaming my name
Oh.
through the door. And I'm just like, hey, can you help me? I need a phone. I need a phone. This man has dementia. I don't know this at the time. I just see an elderly man. He's running towards the door because I'm some strange woman of color, mind you. This is a white man. I'm some strange woman of color in this man's house, covered in blood. And he's like trying to open the door to get me out. And I'm like, no, you can't open the door. And again, I don't know that he's got, this issue. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to get me killed, bro? Like, like you can't open the door. And I hear that one of the neighbors comes out, and I can hear the neighbor open the door, and I'm like, is he still out there? Is he still out there? And he's like, no one's out here, no one's out here. And I'm like, are you sure? He's trying to kill me. I can't come out. Are you sure there's no one there? And as soon as the neighbor says he's gone, I come out and I just fell to the ground. And I remember that neighbor and another neighbor coming out with like towels and stuff to try and help me. My mom was a superhero that day because she had clicked over from being on the phone with me to listen to what's going on to clicking over to the family member and telling them, hey, this person just stabbed your family member. You need to go. They didn't believe it. So they kind of were in disbelief, like, no way. And they had a friend there. Their friend just came taking off. The friend got to me first. And the friend gets to me and she just falls to her knees and she's just crying like, I can't believe this. Like, and I can just see her face, and I don't know how wounded I am. I just know there's blood in my face. I just know, I think that my whole body is ruined. I've been stabbed everywhere. And most importantly, he's gotten away, which means I didn't even do what I came to do. I'm now a victim when I'm supposed to be here to save this person.
Wow.
It just felt so, I felt all of the things were wrong.
Wow.
Ambulance finally gets there. I'm telling them, what's check everything, because I think that I'm bleeding from everywhere. They're cutting open stuff. They're like, no, we don't see any blood from this place, that place. I'm like, I'm telling you, he hit me with that knife several times. Like, there's gonna be blood and other cuts coming from other places.
Right.
They're like, well, let's just get you in the ambulance. They get me on the gurney. And as they're looking at my arm, they realize there's something stuck in it. And the light is reflecting it. I thought I saw a knife. But now, based on the reflection, I'm like, is that glass? Like, what did this man stab me with? Because now I really don't know what the future of my life looks like. If there's shattered in pieces, glass in my arm. As they start rolling me down the stairs, the blade of the knife comes popping out of my arm.
Oh, what number
Ooh,
step?
I need a moment with that. Oh,
My God.
it's a trip because the story doesn't normally make me emotional, but I do have moments still.
It's okay.
Around the anniversary, for some reason, my scar hurts every year.
Mm.
I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's to remind me. I don't know if it's to keep me humble. I'm not sure what that's about. But every year around the anniversary, literally almost a week or two before, my arm starts to hurt really, really bad.
Mm.
But I remember that knife flying out of my arm as they were taking me down on the gurney. And that was the moment I realized everywhere else he had hit me, he had only hit me with the knife handle.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, he did it all.
Oh, and
He saved you. You could have been bleeding out.
so when I
That's
say
insight.
after that moment,
Oh, oh, girl, she told her testimony. I want to tune in right now.
after that moment, there's never a moment again I will question God.
Girl, say that one more time. Please just say it for the people who just came in.
After that moment again, there's never a moment I will question God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Never a moment I will question my calling. Never a moment I will question whether or not I'm supposed to be here.
Mm.
Because when I tried to off myself in 2016, my mother knew that I was not okay and she could feel it. And she sent my father and my sister to my house. And again, this is where that manipulation comes in, whether you believe in astrological signs or not. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm just here to tell you what they say about a Cancer, I do in fact embody.
Right.
I'm a
Right.
very good manipulator. One
Mm.
of the main reasons why I pride myself on being a good person, I know how well I could get over on somebody.
Mm.
My father and my sister came over and they left my house and called my mom and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Ain't nothing wrong with her. She fine. She's sitting up in her room, listening to music. She a little sad, but she okay. My mother showed up at my house literally the next day. Well, I had sliced my arm to hell. I had swallowed a bunch of pills. I had had I think maybe a whole fifth of liquor. And I spent the next 20, 30, or at least what felt like to me 20 or 30 minutes trying to bamboozle my mother because I wanted to finish offing myself. And like I said, my bathroom was in the middle, so I had those double doors. And I faked my mother out by telling her I was hungry and I hadn't eaten in days. And she said, I can tell you're gray, you're green, you're purple. You look like you've been doing nothing but drinking and swallowing whatever pills you're taking and all of these. I couldn't even tell you what pills they were.
Mm.
Many of them pain pills, but or sleeping pills and stuff. But I couldn't even tell you the concoction. I just remember trying to fake my mother out so I could continue going to go off myself. And she went into the kitchen to make me something to eat. And right when she started to wash her hands, me knowing how anal my mother is and OCD my mother is, I got it from her. The moment she got deep into that soap, I knew that was my time to get away from her and go do what I wanted to do. And I closed that first double door and I locked it. I ran in my room. I closed that second double door and I locked it. I opened my window, kicked my screen out, and I jumped out my window. I lived on the first floor, so my window was only 12 feet off the ground. I'm 5'9" and a half, but I'm not athletic. And I personally think I got a bone or a spine, some kind of joint or something disease. Because that 12 feet shouldn't have broke my ankles. But
Oh,
it broke both of them. And I had never broke a bone before in my life. See how I'm jumping around like you were in the book? We
girl.
get each other. We're here, okay? My mother came to that window and said, you broke your effing ankles, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. And I still tried to pick myself up and walk on them broken ankles. Never having broken a bone. That's how bad I did not want to live. And it wasn't until my mom got outside and she snapped. I tried to take my last little shot of liquor. Like, well, I'm going back to the psych ward because I had been there before I was suicidal, like I said. So I'm like, well, I'm about to go back to the psych ward. Let me get drunk as I can before I go. My mom snatched my bottle and threw it. She'll tell you this didn't happen because she has a different recollection, but I know for a fact this happened because it triggered me. I
Ooh.
didn't start screaming and crying until I heard my bottle get run over in the street by a car. I then tried to crawl and go get it. That's how far gone and drugged up and just, I don't want to be here I was. So I went to touch back to that story really briefly because I could not even off my own self.
Wow.
But you never know how protected you are until somebody else isn't even able to succeed. It's one thing for you to want to off yourself and for somebody to stop you. It's another thing for somebody else to try and take into their own hands and for God to step in and say, nah, bro, you ain't got it like that. And the moment that knife fell out my arm, God said, nah, bro, you ain't got it like that.
To just
But God
tell them
also
again.
said to me,
Mm.
yeah, baby, you ain't got it like that either. So if you thought you was about to leave this planet without doing what I called you to do, you thought wrong. So you might want to start listening and you might want to start taking heed to what I've been saying. And you might want to start paying attention to all the people
Girl.
around you who are telling you what you're not listening to. And you might want to put that bottle down and you might want to stop focusing on why nobody wants to be in a
Yes.
relationship and why you can't find a happy partner and why you're going through all of this trauma in relationships. You might want to start focusing on why you don't love yourself in that relationship and focus on
Girl.
that first. Because if you
Girl.
thought you were going to be able to escape what I called you to do, all you're doing is prolonging how
Girl.
long you're going to be going through hell before you get to the place where I'm calling you to go. All you're doing
Ooh.
is adding more
Thank you,
baggage
Jesus.
on to
Thank
what
you,
you got to heal
Jesus.
from before you're finally sitting in that chair like, dang, God, I should have listened. Because you're going to sit in that chair regardless. But
Yes.
what do you want to go through to get there?
Mm.
And
Mm.
even then, after that, I still struggled a bit with sobriety. I still struggled a bit with experimenting with drugs, especially after getting stabbed.
Mm.
I tried new drugs. I tried anything that would make me feel wanted, especially after that family member had made certain comments that just made me feel like, well, I shouldn't have stepped in. And
Mm.
dang, would it have been better if that person killed me?
Wow.
Y'all, because I don't want it to die. One sec.
Okay. You guys, if you missed it, she got stabbed when she went to go help her friend in a domestic violence situation. She felt the knife hit her over and over, all over her body. But she just got done telling y'all, for those that just joined, the knife stopped. The knife broke somewhere on the top of her body before he started getting her on the bottom. I just wanted to tell them, Gabby.
No,
This
I'm go ahead because I still got to plug
girl,
it up.
I'm
So
just
we go
like,
ahead and give
I
them the
can't tell her testimony, but I was like on the verge of tears listening to this woman. God spare. I was like, oh, that was God right there.
yeah.
You could
That
have
was the
been
moment for me
multiple
that
stab wounds. Like, ugh.
that was the moment for me that every doubt I had ever had, and even in and honestly, it also for me connected back to even the doubt I had about my sexuality, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm still in that space where ultimately Christian folk will tell me, right, I'm going to hell for that, and um and or not just Christian folk, because there are plenty of religions that believe um, liking the same sex is a sin. And while I definitely stand on the opposite side of that, and I'm again not seeking for anyone to agree or validate my thoughts or anything like that, I do, however, believe God creates us as we are, and whether that means you are supposed to experience this to realize it doesn't at all fit your life, or whether you are to experience this to be a safe space for those people.
Right.
I think for me, and again, I may maybe wake up one day. Obviously, I woke up. I thought I was a lesbian, and then woke up bisexual at 28. I never saw that coming. I have not dated a woman in 8 years. Never saw that coming.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
while I still love women, I will always love women. I will always find them attractive. They will always be my first love. I'm also aware that what I need will
Hmm.
not come from a woman.
Right.
I didn't used to think that way. So I'm not saying what God can or cannot do with time by any means.
Right.
But I will always be a safe space for all walks of life for people, no matter what their race, creed, gender, whatever. Because that's just personally the God I the God I serve, and the love I believe God gave me to have,
Right.
in a world that is just, again, so judgmental and pointing fingers and all of these things. Um, but even in that aspect, it was a wake up call for even that, because you go from, oh, okay, well, is this a sin, and is that a sin? Is that going to send me to hell? Is God mad at me for this? Is God mad at me for that? Is God ain't saving nobody he mad at. I'll tell you, not like that. Like, if I was that bad, I don't think he would have kept me. If I was such a toxic part of society, or a threat to people, or a hindrance to God's people. And don't get me wrong, hindrances get to thrive in this world too for a while. We all have our purpose. Even the evil has its purpose.
Right.
And I'm just grateful that I got to come to the other side of that, because it's one thing to go from being suicidal and realizing, okay, wait, I love my life and I just got to work on myself, and I just got to let go of some baggage, and I got to stop carrying other people's words as if they're my reflection of myself. And
Right.
that's one thing, but, and it's a beautiful thing. It's one of the greatest things I've ever experienced, learning to love myself and having that realization that I just had some trauma. It wasn't that I was, all of these things that society said. It wasn't that I had all of these unheard of issues. It was just that I didn't know how to deal with them.
Right.
And it's not common for people to talk about how to healthily deal with these things. Or,
Right.
and if they do talk about them, they're judging you while doing it, or they're not actually giving you grace along that journey, because you are absolutely going to revert backwards and have your moments.
Right.
So I think in that moment, it wasn't just about God saving me. It wasn't just about hearing my friend who had now been gone for what, 3 years, since, yeah, Marla was murdered 2017. So it's 3 years now. One of my closest and longest friends had been gone, and I was not handling it well.
Oh wow, Marla.
Yeah. Yeah, she ironically, you even made me think of her a lot in the book while reading it. She unfortunately, she was also adopted. Not That's not the unfortunate part. She was adopted as well,
Right.
and had siblings all over the place, both adopted and biological.
Wow.
And her family did their best to keep her, her biological siblings together, at least make sure they all saw each other and all of that. But
Wow.
again, when you grow up feeling unwanted regardless, there's the baggage that comes along with that, and the running away, and the not wanting to be here, and the feeling like a burden, or just not wanting to be a burden, or
Yeah.
simply just not feeling like you fit in and wanting to explore that. She experienced a lot of that, and with that came along initially just her experimenting with weed, and then we would smoke weed together, and then we both kind of started experimenting with coke together, and then that's
Mhm.
where I left it, because I wasn't going too far. Like you said in the book, I'm not messing with nothing that's gonna have me on the streets with them demons. And even Coke can have you out there with them demons. Don't get it twisted, okay? I'm a firm advocate
Girl, he
for
can't.
for staying away from all of them drugs.
Yes.
It's not no party drug. I don't care what they tell you. And I'm also a firm believer in being honest, because I feel like if we lie to these children and we tell them don't do that, that's going to make them want to do it more. I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell you, I had a blast. Being high feels great while high.
Right.
It feels like,
After.
honestly, a waste of your life and your purpose, though, when you look at the money you've wasted on it, when you start to think about the way it's impacting your skin, your mental health, your sleep, your friendships, eventually your mind, eventually your mental social status, all of the things, right? So yeah, it might be fun for that moment that you're high, and then it's not, because now you have a problem that you can't stop, and now you're sick physically, mentally, emotionally. I
Yeah.
like to be honest with people, because I feel like if you know how when you were a kid they tell you don't do that, it made you want to find out more why.
Yeah.
That investigation stuff is real in us kids. So
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in being honest, but not so honest that you want to go do it, but honest that you are aware of, this is what's going to happen if you get into that. And
Right.
unfortunately, for her, she did in fact start experimenting with meth.
Mhm.
And as you like talk about even in your book, like, who sells meth to their mother? Like, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen many times.
Yes.
Um, and unfortunately, she started to, what happens with meth most often, specifically meth, is you start to hallucinate. You get the drug induced schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened to her. And it ended up being a part of the reason she was murdered. So knowing that when I was stabbed, I was able to hear her.
Wow.
While when she was first murdered, I had a moment where I couldn't accept it so much that I had a dream one night, and the dream felt so real that I woke up the next day convinced that she wasn't dead. She was just hiding from, and I believed that for a couple of months. Like I remember having a conversation with my friend, and I almost started to ask them if they had talked to her, but I knew I was going to sound crazy to them because I didn't want them. And then I was like, well, wait, I can't say nothing because she's in hiding. Like I don't know why this dream felt so real,
That's
but grief does crazy stuff to your mind. Trauma does crazy stuff to your mind because I've actually never even told anyone this, but there was a couple of months that my brain just refused to accept that she was gone. So I think when that moment happened where where I got stabbed and I could hear her, it was kind of like she kind of like God's reminder to me that she's not going, and I know you don't feel her, you don't hear her, you don't see her, but she's never left your side. And when it matters most, you will feel her, you will see her, you will hear her. And that was my reassuring moment. So like I said, that day, just as ugly as it is, as detrimental as the memories can be, as random as the random tears, because I still have days, it's been 5 years and I still have days where I randomly cry like, damn, that really stabbed me. Like,
right.
like he didn't even have to do that. He literally could have just punched me in the face and knocked me out and ran. Like, he's
It is.
6 something feet, 200 something pounds. I'm not, and I was skinny, by almost skinny. Smallest I had been at that time. I had gotten down to 205, and that was the smallest I had been in my adult life. And so just I lost so much and gained so much in that experience.
Yeah.
Because right after that, I ended up eating my fillings and I got right back up to 270 something. And I had spent 2 years fighting to get to a healthy weight. But
Wow.
even that is just a testament to just trust God, because now here I am, 175, smallest I've ever been in my adult life. I'm only 2 pounds heavier than high school. And I didn't think I was going to, as much as I wanted it, as much as I wanted to get back my life from all of that, from those literal, I mean, from 2016 to 2020, we're talking 4 years of nothing but trauma, back to back to back. Um, Knowing now that I'm on the other side of that, making music that, while still carrying my hurt, does not carry the same level of this controls me that it used to when it was my first album.
Right.
And then my second album, where I'm literally talking about being stabbed. I have a song on the second album that's called The End, where I'm literally describing exactly what I went through in that moment. I talk about the flashback and the memories and,
Wow.
like, please God, this can't be the end. I literally say in the song, I'm afraid of darkness behind eyelids that never open again. And it's because in that moment the blood was in my, and it was burning, and I can just remember my eyes being closed and all I saw was blackness, and I was like, I can't see this. If this is it, this is forever. Like, is this all I'm gonna see now? Am I gonna head, is my grandma at least about to be waiting there for me or something? It better be something. What's coming from this guy? Because if I'm about to die, you better have my favorite grandma right there, because that's the only thing that's going, like,
Man.
it was just nuts. It was just nuts. It was crazy for 4 years of just some of the worst things I've ever experienced, and me coping with them the worst ways a person could ever have coped. So when I say reading your book literally very much felt like a mirror in a lot of ways, between just your experience with the domestic violence, and again, like I said, that not being my situation, but in some way being my situation because I became a part of that,
Right.
and just the love of music and creativity, and that being somewhat your outlet,
Yeah.
and the, oh God, oh, this moment, thank you God, because we know my memory is faulty and stuff don't be coming back, but you just made that jump in my head for her, baby. When you talked about runaway love,
Yes, girl. I heard that all the time.
I said, okay, now I know you playing God, because the way I used to play that song, I used to cry, wanting to run away.
Me too.
Like,
You know
Get
the
me out of here, please. Me and my
part?
mother just didn't understand each other, you know, like
Like a
and from my
music.
perspective, she was very stern and sheltered. I had a
video.
lot of a very sheltered in some ways life. We weren't allowed to really go hang out with people after school and stuff, or like go, you know, to malls and stuff like that. If I did, I was sneaking to do it.
Right.
Wasn't too much spending the night at other people's houses. I will say now, I completely get it.
Right.
My kids might hate me when I'm blessed with them, because I completely understand the sheltering now, but I do also understand still how harmful it can be. There's got to be some kind of balance,
Fine.
because if you shelter your kids, then all you do is push them further out into the world to explore it.
It's true.
And if you don't shelter them, or at least try and give them boundaries, then you leave them open to be taken advantage of by any and everybody. But just that experience of not really feeling understood or heard or seen by my mom, and the verbal abuse I experienced, and I'm aware that she, you know, now I understand that my mother didn't really understand that I would take the things that she was saying the way that she did. Do I consider them verbal abuse? Absolutely. I will never sugarcoat that for her, no matter how much she hates how that conversation it goes. She doesn't agree, and we've agreed to disagree with our understandings of my upbringing. But
Right.
I will say, what I do know is, regardless, I know my mother's heart, and if she would have known that some of the things she said were going to become a negative voice in my head that would result in me maybe not wanting to live, or become something that I held against myself, I know she wouldn't have said the things. And that doesn't scapegoat the fact that she said them and they damaged me by any means.
Mm.
But it also, as an adult now, I'm able to be a bit more impartial. And I say all of that to say, when that song would come on, I would cry every time, because I, not just Ludacris, but the way Mary sang it, and then the video, them
And
little girl.
I used to think I was in the video, girl, when it was
Listen,
raining.
I remember one day putting on my backpack and listening to that song and acting it out while I was on my way to school, child. Just drama, just a drama queen.
We could have done a music video together, girl.
We still can. Craziness. But yeah, there was just so much. I'm really so glad I remembered that, because that was one of the, remember when I said I need to get my highlighter, there's very small details that I may forget.
Yeah.
I'm really glad, because when I tell you my memory, I have like a note in my text message right now. I text myself stuff. And I have a thread this long right now of stuff that if I don't text it, I'll forget it. And two of the notes say, there's something you forgot that ain't came back yet. Hopefully reading this over and over and over will maybe make it come back, but so far it hasn't. I'll retext it to myself every day, and it still has yet to come back. So I say that to say that that was genuinely God, because there's no telling when what I want to say and have already thought of is going to come back or not. So
Yes.
many moments, man. So many moments in this book that I cried for you. So
Oh,
many moments in this book that I cried for both of us. So
yeah.
many moments in this book that I wanted to just hug, and little you, old you, teenage you, your babies, just because they don't even know what you went through to become the mom and the wife that you are.
Oh.
Your mom. I wanted to hug your mom, because while I laughed while reading the little comment you said when y'all was rolling into Walmart, because I too am like that. I'm very much I'm a sarcasm girl. Like, and if you give me a look, I'ma say, what? You never seen a gap tooth girl before? What? You never seen saggy boobs before? I lost weight. Leave me alone. Like, I'm very, very direct with, if you meet me with hatred or anger, I may not meet you with hatred or anger, but I'm definitely gonna meet you with some kind of abrasive in energy. So when
Right.
I read you say that, and you said your mom chuckled too,
Yes.
knowing I'm also chuckling at the way you said it, but while also feeling the way you felt as well. Like, I can't imagine how my mom felt me saying that. I just related to just, I mean, literally every aspect, man. Literally every aspect. Like, I wanted to hug your mom,
Oh.
and then hug you when you got to the point where you lost both of your parents within 10 days of each other, baby. Woo!
That was rough. That was
I hope you don't ever again have a moment in life where you question your strength, because you have survived some of the most imaginable imaginable. I mean, the way you describe the abuse and the your ankles scraping against them stairs. Oh, the visuals I got
Girl,
just so heartbreaking. And
is good. Okay. Your memory is good. The stuff that resonates with you, the details, I can't think of anybody else that's read it so far that has given me a detailed review such as
I think it's because I just was so, again, heartbroken, but also so connected.
yeah,
And to not just my experience with some of these things,
right.
but I'm also, again, knowing I love, like I said, whether you agree with it or not, knowing I love women, and not even on the romantic, but like not even on that, that side of things. I mean, just
Yeah,
just what we go through in society,
right.
how we're taught to see and feel about ourselves, and how that often literally depicts our everyday movements at times. Like, someone can say to you, "Hey, I don't like how that looks on you," and you will literally never buy anything that color ever again, or never buy anything that looks like that remotely ever again. And that's that one person's opinion. You don't know if somebody else thought you was fine as heck in that shirt. You don't know if somebody else thought you were the most beautiful thing they've ever seen in that shirt, but you're not wearing it no more because some idiot down the street told you, who you think is fine, that you're not cute in it. Like, we internalize so much
True, and it repeats. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats.
over and over. I mean, even the littlest things. When I go do something, let's say I need to wash the dishes when I get home. Well, I usually don't, because I don't leave stuff in my sink. I got OCD. So maybe that's not a good example. Let me use a more realistic one. Let's say I need to, because I do graphic art, right? Let's say I need to remind myself that I have a client that I forgot about.
Hmm.
If I'm in the moment and I remember it, if I don't go start doing it, it will repeat in my head over and over and over and over, to the point where sometimes I am yelling at myself, like, "Girl, I got it. I heard you the first time."
Wow.
Like, it has made me question, what is that? And sometimes I've looked up symptoms. Some people say it could be autism. Some people could say it be ADHD. I don't know what one of the things. I don't know. God made me however God made me. What I do know is if I don't jump up to do it, it's gonna circulate. If I care about it, it's gonna circulate.
Right.
And those moments in your book stuck with me
Oh,
because, again, they were just so heartbreaking.
right.
And the visual, and you being so young, you having no one, you
Right.
having lost every bit of grounding that you knew and that you made home to you and that became home to you. While on the flip side, me also reading that while you were still going through all of this struggle and turmoil, there was someone along the way, even if it wasn't the person you wanted when it came to your cousin family putting the stuff on the porch. And respectfully, somebody would have had to see me about that, because I don't play about my stuff. And I too house hopped. My mother kicked me out at 18.
Mm,
And because I didn't get along with her partner, and her partner didn't we didn't like each other.
right.
And I just had, like I said, me and my mother just had a very tumultuous, just trauma, just baggage, just all the things.
Right.
So I house hopped, and I had two jobs just like you did at 18. And
Oh.
I got accepted into college, Clark Atlanta. I just couldn't afford to go because of the out of state tuition was like $30,000 a semester. And
Yes.
my mom still owed from when she went to college, so they would only give me $5,000. That ain't even enough for a plane ticket and a couple of, what is that? Food for a month, and like my first couple of books. So
Right.
I remember opening my college acceptance letter and I cried. I wasn't excited. I cried the moment I saw that $30,000, because I knew there was no way I was going to college. And I just reflected on a lot of those moments as I read your book. I reflected on the moments I forgot. It,
Right.
it was it was triggering memories in me that I
Right.
had completely forgotten about. And
Wow.
I'm just grateful to have been able to not only experience your journey,
Mm,
and like I said, even though it was heartbreaking, it was also lovely to see the ways that God, when you needed it, put someone or a tool or organization like the Tubman House, put
yeah.
someone in place for you to be able to lean on, the same way when I was house hopping. Shout out to my play sister Denisha. They're twins, Denisha and Dana, because Denisha and Dana were the first people to house me when I was kicked out of my home. And we didn't get along that well. It didn't result at the time. It didn't end well at the time. I ended up leaving there,
Oh,
but they were there for me when I needed them. And even when we weren't on the best terms, When Denisha found we weren't even cool anymore based on the way I left that house. But when she found out I was still struggling, she would come to my job and leave money for me to eat when I needed it.
Aw.
She would come sneak and bring me food and wouldn't want nobody to tell me who brought it. I've stayed on countless cousins. Auntie Nana, I don't know if you're still in here, but I saw when I was having technical difficulties, you text me asking about them technical difficulties. So thank you. My auntie housed me, and at a time when I was very aggressive, and her son and I have something in common. We're both very headstrong, we don't do well with authority. So me and him butted heads a lot. And I'll never forget there was one argument between us that got very, very physical and violent. And not violent in the sense that we actually harmed each other physically, but we were threatening to. And I'll never forget in that conversation, my aunt stepped in the middle and was trying to end it. And I personally felt like she was taking a little bit more of my cousin's side because that's her son.
Yeah.
And regardless if that's how I felt or not, there was no reason for me to disrespect my aunt who was just trying to de-escalate the situation. And I ended up calling her out her name.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my cousin, not the one I was arguing with, but his brother, who's only 5 months younger than me, he came chasing me out the house. You called my mama the B word? And I was like, oh crap, he about to beat me up. And this the one who gonna do it. And granted, he didn't beat me up, but just hearing him repeat that, it made me sit with that moment like, dang, out of all the people, I just said that to one of the people who has been the most instrumental in making sure I'm emotionally supported and
Right.
making sure I'm heard. And that, it's her sister I don't get along with who kicked me out. Yet she could have sided with her sister, but she didn't. She made sure her niece had a couch to sleep on,
Right.
and a way to make it to and from her job.
Right.
And those people who accept us in our ugliest moments
Yeah.
and then later forgive us for those ugliest moments and don't hold them against us.
Yeah.
Those are the people who do not realize how instrumental they are in us being who we are now. And I can just only be grateful for those people having given me the chance to turn around and become somebody different.
Right.
Because the me that I was when I jumped out that window, and the me that I was when I was getting on the internet talking about my relationship problems and
Mm-hmm.
just making a belligerent fool of myself and giving everybody a reason to say I would never be anything. And if I wasn't, it was going to be because I stood in my own way. And
Right.
I'm
Right.
just so grateful for the people who maybe even had hope or faith. And maybe they even didn't. Maybe they were like, well, I hope she get it together, but I don't think it's going to happen. Just the grace, the gray area, the people who were willing to allow me to show them different. I'm so grateful for all of those people because those are now the people while I am losing connections because I'm outgrowing people, right? I'm
Yeah.
outgrowing the friends I've had for a long time, people I never thought I would outgrow, people I was just speaking to a week ago, people I was just speaking to a month ago. In the last 2-3 months, I have cut off relationships that
Wow.
I never expected to lose. And
Mm.
those people are entitled to have their opinion of what, of my part in that. I don't care what their opinion is though, because for me, I have chosen to 86 myself because I've outgrown those things and I've outgrown where those people are.
That's
And it just makes me feel good to know that the people who I haven't outgrown are the people who have been praising me for the growth I've made.
oh
They're the
yeah.
people who have said, you're almost 2 years sober, huh? I'm happy for you.
Uh-huh.
It's the people who have said, I've watched you go from being the girl who drank her problems away to being the girl who was in her house only 2 months ago. I randomly had a moment where I don't know why. I was able to figure it out, but out of nowhere, I'm almost 2 months sober. 2 years sober. In September, it'll be 2 years.
Wow.
And out of nowhere, I had this moment where like, I kind of want to drink myself silly today. Today's been too much for me. I can't deal with this.
Right.
And my normal reaction would have just been to go to the store and get it. But instead, I walked back and forth from my living room to the back of my house. God, what is this? Take this from me. I don't want this.
That's right.
I don't know where this is coming from, but in almost 2 years, I have never in life I ain't had to fight like this. What is this?
Right.
And it got to the point where I was literally in here screaming, crying, sitting on my butt on my hardwood floor, like, God, please, I can't stop myself. I was
Wow.
begging. I
Wow.
still walked out my house and took my butt to the liquor store.
Wow.
I still bought that bottle. And as I started to walk back home, God said, "So you really gonna throw away 2 years? You almost there. You fought for 5 years to get back here.
Right.
You're a year and 7 months in. You
Girl.
sure you gonna throw this away?" Baby, when I turned around and walked into that liquor store and said, "Excuse me, can I please return this?" I was about to make a mistake. And that man said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I was about to throw away 2 years, almost 2 years of sobriety because I've had a hard day. And I don't really know how to deal with it right now because I haven't had a low moment like this." And he was like, "Yeah, I can't even let you do that," and snatched that bottle back from me.
Look at you.
Before I walked to that store, I said to myself, "Yeah, I could hate myself tomorrow. I don't care. I don't want to feel anything." I
Mm.
woke up the next day and said, "Whoa, God, I would have hated myself. Thank you." Same sentence, same verbiage,
Man,
completely different connotation.
man.
And I say I bring that story up to just to reiterate again, your highs and your lows gonna come. Your trials and your tribulations are gonna come. And it's not about what they look like in that moment. I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, ultimately they can look ugly in that moment, and they can be ugly in that moment. They can be hard to understand in that moment, but eventually your clarity is going to come.
Yeah.
And if you give yourself the space, if you give God the space, if you give faith the space,
Yes.
you have to be able to get out of your own way.
Mm.
And I'm just proud of myself for getting out of my own way in that moment. Because, like I said, old me would have just drunk herself silly and hated herself the next day.
Jesus. Woo.
But that moment, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not alone no more. I've never been alone. And I don't have to pretend like I'm alone anymore to make myself feel worse about what I'm going through. I can acknowledge that there's nobody physically present while
Mm.
God is absolutely physically present, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yes.
And
It
I
does.
may feel alone because there's no one literally here talking back to me. But if I just shut up,
You hear him.
somebody talking back. You're just too busy blabbing to hear it.
True, girl. It's true.
You're too busy blabbing to hear it. And sometimes your mind is too convoluted. Sometimes you've got to pull some stuff out of there. Sometimes you got to do some reworking first. And
Yes.
that's been where I'm at. I'm at the reworking stage. I am not perfect. I'm healing, not healed, which means if you say something to me that is not becoming, I
Mm.
cannot promise you will get the me I'm presenting on this camera right now, because I'm honest about where I am, and I'm honest about my journey, and I'm
Right.
honest about all of the ugly things I've experienced. I've
Yes.
had people think that they are getting on the internet to make fun of me. Not too long ago, a girl thought she was going to roast me by calling me a crackhead on Twitter. I have a song out called Sobriety in which I talk about doing drugs and drinking. You're not hurting me, honey. All you're doing is not only proving that you're a fan, but that my testimony is reaching people, and you can choose to hear it and take from it the lesson and the healing that's in it, or you can choose to use it as a manner in which you belittle people. But
Girl.
please know that if you choose the latter route, again, like I said earlier, you're only prolonging your blessings and
Yes.
your mission
Mm.
and what God is calling for you to do.
Girl.
So yeah, I take pride in all of it. I take pride in all of the ugly. I take pride in all of the hurt, all of the moments that I never thought I would be able to heal through. I have in fact either already healed through them or I'm still healing through them, and I'm able to wake up and not drink myself to a puddle like
Thank
I did every day. I'm able to wake up and not experiment with drugs. It's been several years since I've done that. I
wow.
mean, unless you consider marijuana a drug, I'm not going to. I still smoke my weed. I ain't listen. Y'all do
Girl.
with that with it what you will. If you ain't gonna follow me because I smoke weed, do with it what you will. I got anxiety, okay? I got depressions occasionally, but I say all of that to say, ultimately, the best thing that came out of me reading all of the book was not just obviously building such a beautiful relationship with you and your story, but being able to walk away from it seeing you with the smile that you have every day on this app, and seeing you spread love every day on this app. And even when you do have a rough moment, you show it. And we get to see what it is like to be a human being again in a day and age where literal human beings are being mocked by robots. It's been beautiful to hear you talk about on live, but then, or excuse me, on Instagram, but then get to sit in private with myself and actually read it and internalize how much alike we can be with complete strangers,
Wow.
and how much those strangers' stories can help us heal stuff, or even help us process stuff that we're not yet willing to acknowledge or to work through, or have not yet been able to work through.
Yeah.
um, I'm excited to be able to hold on to this here book,
Thank
Sustained
you.
by Grace, by this beautiful woman sitting in front of you, Theresa Taylor. If you have not gotten a copy, it's available on Amazon. If you have not gotten a copy and don't know where to find it, the link's meant to be in my bio forever. Because not only do I believe in the power of the message in this book,
Oh.
I want to be able to reflect on it myself whenever I need a pick me up or a reminder.
Yeah.
I want to be able, especially because of how close it comes to home for me, and especially because of how much damage has been done to my brain due to my insomnia. As much as I want to write my book, you have and had started to and never finished. Not only have you inspired me to just go ahead and just start writing and see what happens,
Do it.
whether it becomes a book, a poem, whether it sits in a closet, whatever.
Do it.
It's also nice to have something that, let's say I never, and I will not say this as if it's going to come to fruition, because what you speak, you manifest. So I'm only saying this for context purposes. We do not believe this, okay, y'all? Let's say it never happens. Let's say I never write my book. I can
Hypothetical.
at least say that this book is close enough to my life that I always have something to reflect on and to find healing in, and to be able to use as a tool and a reminder of what my goals, my focus, and my calling has always been, and how much God has always been in my life. And it was me who was in my way, and me who was keeping that relationship strained. And
Yes.
no matter what religion you subscribe to, or no matter what tools you choose to utilize, no matter what you take from whatever your manuscript is, whether that's the Bible, the Quran, whether that's getting out and getting them bean pies to them folk, whatever that look like, okay? Whatever fellowship looks like to you. For me, it is absolutely meditating, and it is waking up and spending my first 30 to an hour not on a technological device. For me, it is pulling a card. I don't, whether you believe in tarot or not. Again, spirituality looks like something different for everybody. I personally believe that that's how my ancestors are able to commune with me. I'm able to hear their messages and hear God's messages more clearly because I'm a visual learner. So I'm not necessarily saying that the power is in the cards. That's where people get confused. The power's not in the cards. The power is still coming from God, the same God we all believe in. It's just being utilized a different manner. So whatever your tools, well, again, whether that's a Bible, a Quran, for me it's cards and meditation and community, having conversations like this. It's even still the Bible, of course, because although, like I said, I don't necessarily subscribe to organized religion, that does not mean that what's in that Bible is not for you. That does not mean that the messages that are in the Bible cannot still help you navigate and help you communicate with God and help you heal.
Yes.
Um, Discernment is key. Don't
Yes.
take everything with a grain of salt. Just because somebody says something does not mean that's what they live,
It's true.
and just because you read it and one person tells you that's their interpretation does not mean that that's the way you will interpret it. So just get to know God for yourself is the best way I can describe what I'm basically trying to say, because that's the crux of what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
Don't be so turned off by what your church experience may have been.
Mm.
Because they can be crazy depending on what church you're going to. Churches can get they're people. We are
Churches,
people.
they're real
They are
people.
simply people who are doing what they believe they were called to do. Whether that means they are actually correctly delivering what God has asked them to do, or whether that means they are spamming people and doing like what you call it did when he was talking about shutting doors until the people would put all that money in the collection plate. Listen,
Open sap, Lord. Lock the doors, Mister. Lock the doors. I cannot, girl.
moral of the story is people gonna be people no matter if they follow God and are doing so according to what God is calling them to do, or if they are following God and using God as a crutch and a flex. At the end of the day, find your relationship, because and don't feel afraid to find it because of what someone else has told you it's supposed to look like. Because there are plenty of people who will tell you they will never listen to me because I'm a bisexual. There are plenty of people who will tell you they would never listen to me because I love gay people, or I love people of all races, or all of the things. At the end of the day, what I do know is God is absolutely working in my life. And the proof is in the fact that I am meeting beautiful people like yourself. And that I am not just meeting people like yourself, but that the people I'm meeting are becoming my soul family. And a lot of the recent people I've met have been supporting me more than people I've known my whole life. And for me, that is all the proof I will ever need that maybe I am flawed. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not doing things the right way. Maybe I have decided what something looks like and is acceptable because that's what my soul feels like is best for it. That does not mean that it's correct. I may find out in 10 years that I actually am committing a serious sin and God really didn't intend for me to like women. And you know what I'm gonna have to say, God? I apologize that I did not know better and that I did not listen to the words you gave me. But what I do know is you know my heart and you know that I didn't do anything out of malice and I did everything with love. And ultimately, that's all that matters. God knows our heart. God absolutely knows your intent before you go to do something. It knows your thought before you even think it, knows your words before they come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, whatever your endeavor, whatever your journey, whatever your baggage, if you can relate to Theresa's story, if you can relate to my story, if you can relate to both of our story, because it's extremely similar and we're twins in another life, and I'm about to have to call my daddy and say, so do I got a sibling you didn't tell me about?
You need
No matter what that, really, I'm telling you. Now, if you were taller, I would really be worried.
bro. Okay. I
If
got
you were taller, I'd be like, Daddy, we got to talk.
my mama was short.
See, mine is too. See, we might have to go ahead and do some lineage tests, child. But
DNA.
yeah, I say all of that to say this is an incredible book, and I enjoyed reading. I haven't finished, by the way, just so y'all know. I'm not speaking from the place of completely having finished the book. I fell asleep last night, either on chapter 7 or 8. I'm pretty sure I'm on 8.
Almost done.
I'm almost done. I either have 2 chapters to go or 3 chapters to go. Well, 2.5.
Yes.
And it's not that long of a book. It's only 101 pages. There should be no reason you can't get through this book. She doesn't use a ridiculously complicated verbiage or language. There's no way you shouldn't be able to get through this book with clear understanding of what her message and her story is, and whether you align and agree with every single page and word of it. If you don't align at all with it, then I don't think I want you following me, because we respectfully are just not in the same place. And as I just said, I only want people who are understanding of my growth and where I am in life to
No.
be able to be in my circle, because we are in a time and a day and age where you have to really be mindful. Well, we always had that, have that, but especially with what's going on in the world, especially with the state of our economy, especially with the state of our infrastructure and the powers that be, and the people, the man specifically, and his ideologies and the things he stands for. It's more pertinent now than ever that you have your soul family intact, and that you have your prayer family intact, and that you have your warriors intact. And if you believe in communing with your ancestors like I do, then that you have them every day, have conversations with them about the things that you want them to continue to help guide you to fix and to change and to grow and to implement and all of the things. Make sure that is something you are prioritizing, because it is. I can tell you for sure, it feels wonderful knowing that if I was having a moment right now and I was to call Theresa and to say, hey, this is what's going on. Actually, I don't even got to call you, child, because the other day when I tell y'all I fell asleep because of Theresa, a lot of people prayed for me, okay? And I
Yeah.
was grateful for everybody's prayers, but I ain't gonna lie. I'm almost positive it was her prayer that got me to sleep.
Oh.
And when I read in your book that your daddy said that you had that calling and that your mother's feet were, I said, oh, well, that tracks, because baby, I slept that night and I
Thank
slept good.
you for
I
rest.
genuinely believe you have it.
Thank you.
I know you do, because it was spoken over my life, and I saw it. I saw it become something that I was able to utilize in that moment. So thank you for your prayers and your love and your support. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for, especially more, let me say that again. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your vulnerability. I
Oh.
could say that 100 times over.
You.
because to talk about what you talked about in this book, it takes way more than courage. It takes, especially when we get to the part where you are talking about your sexuality and what comes of that, and the ways that impacted you, and the stigmas that come along with the ways that impacted you, and the way people will treat you based on the ways that impacted you. And I will say this to give you some, hopefully give you some form of peace. That was your experience was extremely common.
Mm.
That was something that Stubbs just did. Lesbians in general. That was a thing. I have dated several women who lied about their age. I have dated several people who, when I was younger, were not honest about what age they were, and two of them were in fact problematic. I didn't find out until I don't know if this was God looking out for me, but I didn't find out until after they were of legal age, and by the grace of God, they never, nothing ever came of it, because they were aware that they were attracted to older women and that they had done something about it. One of those people's parents even found out,
Mm.
and I just got lucky that she knew her child,
Right.
and she understood my personality, and that I although older than her child, was younger in spirit,
Yeah.
and we were kind of the opposite. Her child was acting as if she was older versus me, and because of my trauma, I
Right.
had more of a childlike spirit.
Mm.
And although the age don't change that, that's, you still older than that person.
Right.
What you feel in your spirit does not change how old you are and what that dang birth certificate says.
Exactly.
But I think she was just grateful that I wasn't a predator, and that I was someone who had their own issues and was trying to discover themselves the same way that her daughter was.
Right.
And that she could trust that I was never going to, do anything weird or anything like that. But I absolutely related to that portion. And I specifically wanted to make sure that I gave you that piece
Thank
of comfort,
thank
because knowing that you were not a part of that community from jump, right? And that you just kind of found yourself in it and were exploring and experimenting, the things that come along with that community, you can sometimes not really understand based on having, like, literally thrown yourself in them.
right.
And you can often feel like both a victim and, I'm sure, especially in your situation, you knew you were a victim, but people made you feel like a predator and treated you like a predator.
Yes.
And I just wanted to be very open and honest about the fact that your experience is not at all something that was uncommon. It is not at all something that you had to seek to find. That especially with the generation that we grew up in, it
Right.
was so, I mean, I couldn't even count on both hands how many lesbian or bisexual women I know that dated underage women because they lied about how old they were, or because they were hanging around older women who were in the community and wanted to fit in.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure I gave you that, even
Thank
though I'm sure you found your peace,
right.
and you know that, again, we're gonna go through what we're meant to go through for our testimony. I just wanted to make sure, as someone who is still a part of that community in some capacity, although like I said, it's been 8 years, but I'm still a part of that community. Absolutely, I'm still going to support my people. Absolutely, but I always wanted to make sure that I imparted that with you. Left you with that
You know.
your experience is not at all uncommon, and you should not at all ever feel like you have to wear whatever language or verbiage they tried to paint you as for that experience, because there are countless numbers of women who in that community unfortunately had to find out the hard way that we were dating teenagers.
That's crazy
Yeah,
because even I appreciate you saying that because
I'm
even
glad, again, God,
that
nothing but God, remembering the smaller parts that I said I wanted to touch on, because
I didn't even know
I
it was common. I thought I was like
no,
really
Leslie, no,
trouble.
no.
I did something really bad, but I was unaware of it.
Yeah, no, not at all. I can tell you for sure at least three of the women I dated were younger than me, and three of them lied about it.
Thank you so much.
And when I say young, I mean not like ridiculously younger, but 4 years is a lot when you're talking I'm 19 and you're 15.
Right. Yeah.
4 years or 4 years can be a lot when we're talking I'm 19, you're 15, we've been together for 3 years, and I'm thinking you're of legal age, and I'm, like, or I'm at least thinking that when I first meet you, if you are 17, that you're about to be 18, and
Mhm.
then like that's so common, and I hope that it's not common these days. I don't know, as obviously I'm not only not that deep in the trenches anymore, but also not that young. We've all grown up. So I don't know what this generation is doing in that community, but as in regards to us 88 babies, us 87, 88, or maybe even 85 to like 92.
Right.
I would say 85 to like 92.
Mhm.
That generation for sure had serious issues with being the age that they were when it came to lesbianism for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it was I, now that I think about it, maybe the lesbians were scarce. I don't know. Maybe they were far and few between. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a complex thing with a lot of, especially since a lot of them were studs. Maybe
Right.
it was a complex thing with wanting to feel, more what society told them they had to. I'm not sure. I just wanted to make sure that I left you with the fact that that was not at all uncommon, and that you are nowhere will you ever be alone in that having been your story. Because again, it's one of those things that we can check off as mine as well.
Yes. Thank you for
No, for sure, for sure.
being and honest, because that carried a lot of shame for me
Yeah, I'm sure.
for years, and being called that P word, that was no joke. That's a horrible stigma to live with. I'm like, no, I got so sick of explaining myself and trying to tell people, no, it's not what the news said it was. This is what really happened. So
Right.
like God was like, no, you got to tell them the real. You got to tell
Yeah.
them what really happened. So now all these stories they spin on the news, I go to the source. If you don't know the person in real life, I'm probably not gonna.
Yep.
I don't even watch it anymore.
Yep, because that like even when you talked about Maury pretending like they wanted to help your mom and all of that's what they do, like or even when we talked about in the intro the American Idol stuff, like do
Yes.
I believe that the industry exists, the entertainment industry exists as it is to in some way help those who obviously seek this to get guidance from whoever they're inspired by? Absolutely. But do I believe that God has free reign over that industry? Absolutely not.
Mm,
um we all know that that's the devil's, that's the devil's playground. And I believe that we are literally in real time seeing the proof and the evidence of all of that. And
yeah.
that comes along with the news and all of the, they're going to propagate and appropriate what they want. They're going to push the narratives and the stories that get them the engagement that they want.
You
Even if it has the expense, even if it's at the expense of not only your freedom, your mental health, your livelihood, your longevity,
what?
all of the, they don't care. And
It's ruining lives.
yeah, and as much as like I said, as much as young me really wanted to be a part of that industry, I have people now ask me, well, why don't you want to sign to a major label? Because I'm not losing control of my creativity. I'm
They-
not having someone tell me when I can sing and can't sing or drop an album, and I'm not having someone tell me I have to sing about a topic that I don't agree with. I'm not having someone tell me that I have to wear something I'm not comfortable wearing, and
Right.
I'll be danged if I have someone tell me what, especially with my body and all of these things that's happening in that industry, what I am or am not gonna do, and what I have to, what issues I can, like poor Kaylani. Kaylani is going gung ho hard right now for
No.
Palestine, and as
No.
she rightfully should be, as a human who is standing against the
Yeah.
unaliving of and the cultural erasure, the literal erasure of an entire people. The
Right.
fact that she has to explain that to the masses is proof of what kind of world we're living in, and proof what kind of world that or sphere that entertainment industry runs around. And
Right.
that ain't the industry God wanted me a part of, and I
Mm-mm.
know that now. And no matter what people had to say, no matter what news clip they saw, no matter what they chose to run with, your testimony is what it is because of God's plan for you and what God had written out for your life. And whoever chooses to still hang on, whatever they said back then, whatever news clipping they read, whatever old article, whatever that again is going to be their hindrance, because instead of coming to the source,
Yeah.
they chose to read and tune into an industry that is literally designed for destruction.
Telling you.
The
I'm
industry is designed to keep the middle class, the working class, from uprising against the 1% that are literally controlling the entire world. Like, we're
telling
fighting each other and talking about what this person did with their personal life or what this person is doing in their personal home, and it's not harming anybody. Yet we are not focusing on why have we not all collectively decided we're not paying taxes? Why
right,
have we not all collectively decided I'm not going to a 9 to 5 where I don't even have health insurance?
right,
I'm not putting my kids in a daycare where I can't make sure that they are not going to be physically or emotionally harmed.
right.
We have way more to focus on than people's personal choices of happiness, as long as they are not harming people. And for me, that is the focal point. And I
Yeah.
hope that that is what you continue to be able to connect with people over. And I hope that people give you the grace to be able to hear your side of the story and read your words before they just run off of
Yes.
he say bull crap.
Thank you, Gab.
No, my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
It's been so nice just having this conversation with you because I really feel like you get me, you understand
Yeah.
me. You, even if it wasn't exactly the same experience, like you're like, oh my God, I understand to the point of tears. Like
Yeah.
I understand what this means to me. Like I've been waiting my whole life, not for this moment, it sounds cliche, but like I've been waiting for years to get someone to understand my
Yeah.
story. Ah,
Well, I'm honored to be able to give you that bit of peace and clarity, or whatever endorphin, however it makes you feel. I'm
my
truly
heart.
honored to be able to supply that because, like I said, the courage it takes to write and talk about what you talked about in this book is something that it took me. I mean, being a writer myself, it's hard for me to say some of the things I put in them songs. And
Yeah.
it sometimes you end up saying, I ain't gonna say that. And and then maybe even end up regretting it because now you've closed circuited what you're healing.
Yes.
You've somewhat eliminated all of the obstacles you could have really conquered. So knowing that you said, I'm not hiding an egg from my, I'm not tucking an egg away from my basket. I'm gonna put them all in there. And I'm even gonna put the ones that don't paint me in the best light in there. And if those people choose to still run with those eggs, when they
Mm.
could crack them open and actually see what's in there, that's on them.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'm sustained by grace regardless.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sustained by grace regardless.
Yes, girl.
Whether you believe what the news said, I'm sustained by grace regardless.
Okay. Okay.
Whether you are a part of the trauma and inflicted it or not, I'm healing from it. Are you? Because I'm sustained by grace regardless.
Right.
I hope you have done the work if you are a part of the causing of trauma, by the way.
Girl.
Because if you are the man I spoke about, my brother, you are only safe because God is working on me.
Ooh. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Okay. We don't have to fight.
Listen, say
We
that
don't
again.
have nothing.
Say
We don't
that
have
again because I'm not gonna lie, I done had to, I literally, that sentence this week, I had to say, whoo, God, I'm a little angry right now and I'm trying to take this into my own hands. I need you to go ahead and sit me down real quick. Because
yeah.
right now I'm allowing this to take more power from me than it needs to when I should be giving it to you because you have more endless possibilities anyway.
I'm filthy rags. Okay. I'm nothing. I'm
I'm literally Cinderella before the fame.
okay.
I'm
I
literally Cinderella before the dress and the fairy godmother. So why not just let you be the one with the magical wand and go handle that for me? And if I'm lucky enough, or maybe not lucky enough, because maybe lucky isn't the right word, but if I'm blessed enough,
yes.
God might give me a front row seat.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm not
It's
saying
in
that
my
because I want to witness you
yes.
be taught a lesson by any means, but it is sometimes healing to
Yes.
see someone learn that they are not that much different than you and that they can be in the same situation that they were judging and putting you down for. It's
Yes.
not healing to see them hurt, but it
It's
absolutely can be healing for someone to be humbled who caused you so much turmoil, trauma, loss,
yeah,
pain, all of the things.
you're
So yeah, give your problems to God and stay sustained
not well.
by God's grace.
Yes. Thank you, sis. I know my
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 pleasure.
My phone is like on 10%,
Girl,
but
mine was too. That's why I said I gotta go get this charger. She gonna lose me.
I
And
know
I
we
don't know my long-winded butt be talking.
right, we can end it, but I just wanted to thank you again. You guys go follow Gabby Rose, Gabby Rose
Thank you
Music
very much.
on YouTube. Please follow her on all platforms.
Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Music, you guys, it's real authenticity.
And I will say, if you are someone who does not, I'm a very open communicator, so I do use verbiage that some people are not fond of. I do cuss. I believe I'm a firm believer in words just being words in regards to not necessarily who they're said to, because that's different. But I mean, in regards to self-expression, if
Right.
I'm just writing with a pen what I feel, I might use a cuss word. So I'm giving that disclaimer because I absolutely don't ever want someone to have the wrong impression. I'm very open. And I'm okay with who I am. I love who I am. I'm okay with the way I'm currently existing and presenting, but I don't ever want someone else to hear me speak so eloquently and so fluently and then think that that means that I don't maybe have, other parts to me. So I say all of that to say, please listen to the music,
Yes.
but be aware that you may hear something that you said you might want to add to your, okay, I can't listen to this song list. And it's not every song. I definitely have songs that don't have that kind of connotation, but I just wanted to make sure I'm transparent because I know you have a very, very religious following, and I don't want anyone to have seen me talk on here and been like, oh, I can follow her. And then the next thing they know, they're listening to one of the songs I've made romantically.
Girl,
And
like
they're like, what is this?
girl, like you said, everybody's a work in progress.
Yes.
Just go live with Christians. I don't just talk to just Christians.
Right.
Really, this message of my message is for everybody.
Yeah.
It's for everybody. It's not
Yes.
just one person. If you don't believe in God, yeah, I talk about him a lot, but because that's how I was raised. Like,
Period. And,
so
and more importantly, that's not just how you raise. That's your passion. That's your call. Your message. That's your calling. Your calling is
yes,
to use
girl.
your testimony to help God's people
Yeah,
and to prevent other young girls from going through what you went through and to give them the advice that maybe they don't have someone around them who's giving them. And that's it, and that's all. Like I said, I just try to be transparent just because I don't want anyone to ever
yeah.
like what I'm saying, and then they go listen and they're like, well, this doesn't align with at all what I heard in that live. So I
Girl,
just try to be transparent because, like you said, we are human. We're also grown people, and there are aspects of life that are grown people that have, aspects that have nothing to do with your character and then also storytelling does not necessarily mean that that's where you are right now and that's how you currently present yourself or think or feel. So some of my songs I'm absolutely outgrown what I wrote in them. And like we were talking about earlier, people should not be held
Mm-hmm.
to a status that they no longer are aligned to. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to be transparent, like I said, one more time, just so y'all do know. I have really great songs, but some of them do contain topics or words that may be heavy or even triggering. It may not even be a cuss word. Like I said, I do have a song about being stabbed. I have songs about being assaulted and stuff. So
Right.
even just for that disclaimer, as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for picking me as the winner for the raffle.
yeah.
I got to win this book, guys.
I
I was
know.
simply just trying to make sure that you guys participated, and I actually ended up being the one to win the raffle for the book. So not only did I get to read this beautiful book, but I got to read it at no cost to me, which almost feels like not even fair, if I'm honest.
Aw.
Because not only did I not have to pay for her testimony, which y'all should have to pay for, but also I was given gems and healing from it that I didn't have to pay for. So even that in itself is a blessing in God doing the work and connecting the people that God wants to connect for whatever endeavors we may have in the future. So thank y'all so much for
Yeah.
watching us have this discussion and listening to my trauma.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing yours with us all. And again, your vulnerability and being so willing to talk about such uncomfortable topics. Now my book jumping out my hand. I don't like that. Um, and thank you again for sharing it with me and having this discussion with me and including me and continuing to support me all day, every day. It has been so refreshing, and so I feel so loved every day.
Mhm.
that I get on here, and I can almost guarantee that I have a DM from you saying something positive and uplifting and loving, and it has just been such a beautiful feeling, and it's I really feel genuinely seen as well,
Yeah.
and I'm honored to be able to reciprocate that. So thank you.
Thank you for being genuinely you, Gabby.
It's my
And
pleasure.
I pray for you. I will never stop praying for you.
Thank you, my love. That's
Okay?
mutual.
You stop claiming that insomnia because it's not yours. It
I
doesn't.
do need to stop doing that.
It doesn't. It's not your anxiety. It's the devil's anxiety trying to
Yes.
you. I just want you to remember who you are. You're beautiful. You're going to be elevating in this season, girl. Just for the fact, just not even that you're supporting me, not even that you're supporting this, not even that you're supporting religion. It's a relationship. We're in
Yes.
a relationship here. We're
Yes.
in a relationship with the Most High, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
Sky Daddy. I don't care what you guys want to call him.
Period. I love saying Sky Daddy.
He saved me. Okay, that's God.
Uh,
Y'all talk about. He saved me.
yeah.
So I love you.
Indeed, indeed, saved you, and now we get to see you be a beautiful mother, a beautiful wife. We get to see you be an incredible author who heals and reminds people of what their focal should be, and reminds people that we are all human and we all have our journeys. And no matter how ugly your story may look to you, you never know who it's beautiful to. And I just thank you for sharing your story. I thank your family for sharing you with us. I thank your husband for sharing you with us. I thank your husband for loving you and giving you what you deserve after all of the trauma you've experienced. You truly deserve that the most. And I'm just grateful. I can't wait to see what the next book is.
Yes, girl, it's gonna be good. You're
I know
gonna
that manuscript, or what, the workbook. The workbook.
yes, the workbook. It's
I'm
gonna
excited for the workbook because that's what I need next, girl.
yes, girl. It's
I'm
gonna be
excited.
good. I'm excited. I'm gonna let you get some rest.
Well, I'm up for a little bit, but I'm not claiming why.
Well, you better get some
I'm
rest.
not claiming why I'm up for a little bit. We're gonna call it something else tonight. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna call it endorphins because I feel energized, and
Fly.
yeah. I feel high off life in the conversation, and just the
That's it.
camaraderie and all of the love and everything. Like, this was just so beautiful. So again, thank you for having me, and you get yourself some rest too, because you got to wake up and mommy. I don't.
All right, Mama.
Okay, my love, you get yourself some sleep, and thank y'all for tuning in. Go get the book. Like I
Yes,
said in her comments the other day, 3 copies. One for you, one for a family member who you know needs it, and one for somebody who's on that street that needs it. And when I say on the street,
yes,
I mean homeless, or on the corner selling, or
yes,
whether that be something or something,
yes,
whatever,
yes.
go hand it to somebody you know needs it.
Please.
Sustain
Thank
by
you for
Grace. Theresa
supporting me.
Taylor, available on Amazon. Link will be in my
Best,
bio.
the best promotion ever. Love
I might
you.
have to
Good
go ahead and give
night.
her a song. All right, my love. I'll talk to
Good
you soon.
night. All right.
Okay.
Bye.